you do have to at some point deal with that element of corruption. And that has to be solving that they make money based on outcomes. Somewhere in their outcomes has to be factored in, and it's not at all. There's zero concern for the outcome. It's all about getting more premium. They don't care if you overcharge them because they're just going to factor that in to making more money next year. Or if you're United Healthcare, you're just going to buy the medical group and say, oh, we had lower profits this year as United Healthcare than we expected because your hospitals that don't have to report their income made more money than they've ever made in their life. Their healthcare system, they're just profit shoving down into Optum and hiding it. Like that's all stuff that does have to get solved somehow. And I hate regulation, but I don't know where you solve that.
Strong like bull, yeah, strong like bull, leveling up, gotta endure, talking about being an entrepreneur. Zach Brown here to break it down like this. Gonna talk about the come up in the big jump with his guests and the lessons they learned.
All right, ready? All right. Nathan Craig, welcome to Strong Like Bull. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
I am strong like bull.
All right, man. So we break this up into 3 segments. One, I want your origin story because what really, the whole point of this thing, I guess, is to pinpoint something in your past as a kid, whether it's an experience or troubles or whatever, or role models that put you in a position to ultimately be an entrepreneur. Like because there's 100 paths to get there, right? And typically when I'm talking to people, I can pinpoint something that, okay, yeah, they were destined to be entrepreneur because of that experience or that role model or whatever, right? Second, I just want to talk about you actually making the leap from being an employee to an entrepreneur, because that's a crazy thing to do. So why put yourself in jeopardy that way? And then the third is we'll dig into your expertise, and the goal is for you to teach me something new. Okay, which is going to be difficult because I'm much smarter than you.
Yeah, it's not close.
But all right, man. So you can start with your earliest memory. Obviously, keep it relevant to being an entrepreneur. But tell me about what kind of kid you were, and yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. You told me not to talk about when I came into the light and saw.
Yeah,
the
no,
doctors.
that's
right.
too,
yeah,
that's
no,
too
not
early.
that. That's right. Not my first memory. So not that one. So I grew up in San Diego, born in Colorado. Parents moved to San Diego, blamed it on my allergies, which is kind of like somebody saying like, "Oh, I'm moving to Hawaii to be a missionary." Let's be honest.
We're opening up an office in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. What a sacrifice you've made, my friend. So parents moved to San Diego because of my allergies, and grew up in East County. Pretty simple childhood. Public school and private school, and then public school and private school. Playing sports and.
You say private school?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
So you grew up with a little bit of money.
We got subsidized private school, but yeah, no. We really didn't. I mean, my dad always worked 2 or 3 jobs. My mom was like kind of vacillated between per diem nurse and full-time, depending on where we were at in school. I remember our first new car, I was in high school, like sophomore year of high school. So we were, I would say pretty simple means. I was
middle class.
Yeah. Through grind. I mean, my dad was paramedic and a teacher, and then eventually he became a pastor when I was in high school, and he went into full-time ministry. So they hustle. I mean, they worked hard. Yeah, they worked hard. My whole childhood. I have an older sister and a younger brother. So I have a middle child complex, which is probably my entire entrepreneur story is just being a middle child. Played sports growing up, soccer, hockey. And then I remember my first, even as it relates to just going, I want to make money. I don't want to live on my $1.50 a week allowance that I had. I wanted to go earn some money. So a couple buddies and I took push paddles, empty 2-liter soda bottles. You're so young. I forget sometimes. Kush. It's like a paddle ball game, but it was like a squishy gel ball and a netted, I don't know, Kush paddle. Somebody knows what Kush paddles are.
It's not bad.
Well, I'm not bougie like you. No, I don't come from, I didn't have a cardigan tied around my neck like you. Okay. So I actually earned my sports. I don't know. Probably at Walmart for $2.99 was Kush paddles. Kush. Kush. Okay. Kind of like your childhood. So paddles, super soaker squirt guns, empty 2-liter bottle, the soda bottle. And we'd go knocking door to door. I was eight 8 or 9 years old. We go knocking door to door around the neighborhood in the summer and ask if they had any wasp nests we could shoot down for $5.
Okay.
$5. We'll clear all your wasp nests for $5. So the real, it was not the big super soakers that got the job done. It was this little handheld, probably 10-ounce squirt gun that you could air pump. You would put that thing at a PSI that I don't know how they don't make squirt guns like they used to. I mean, these things held together back then. It would explode a modern squirt gun. The amount of pressure inside this thing. And you just freaking aim at that wasp nest, shoot it down, the thing falls, they come out, you take your cush paddle and you swat the wasps as they're coming out of their nest, and cuss them, scoop them into the 2-liter bottle and shake them to death. Now,
So you were in the special needs class?
I wore a helmet for safety, okay? I mean, to be a good example to my little siblings.
Of course.
You could never do this now. Everybody would be terrified of getting sued. You know, they'd be like, do you have your EpiPen? I'm like, I'm not. I don't have allergy. I mean, I probably was allergic. I don't know. We never got stung. And the ones that were the hardest by far to get were the yellow jackets. We would just try to hit them too. And just like, you have to like do those things. They have like built-in helmet.
So is it like one of those things that you go after the queen, and if you kill the queen, all of them stand down?
I would like to say we thought that at that level, but we were just like, it's $5. Like, this is the hustle, you know? And yeah, we'd make $35, $40,
That's
you know,
awesome.
from getting to shoot down some wasps. Happy customers, you know, and did that two consecutive summers. We just would go do that, and then we'd take our money, of course, I didn't put it into retirement, straight down to all-star cards. Got myself some hockey cards that have depreciated in value. You know, it's the only sporting cards. I could have gotten Magic cards and I'd make more money today than if I bought hockey cards. So I wasn't real good at investing. School-wise, I mean, this is back when you get work permits. My first job that somebody was paying me real money, I was 14, working at a candy factory, Wisteria Candy Cottage, out in deep East County, San Diego, in Campo or Boulevard. And they would let me package the candies at this little fudge shop, package candies, make turtle clusters, whatever, and I'd get paid $40 a day, and they'd let me drive their daughter's dune buggy out in the yard for like 30 minutes. I just figured.
Did you pocket any of the candy?
I ate it. The white chocolate it's world class. Wisteria Candy Cottage. If you, subtle plug for this candy, it's still there. It's fantastic.
You're supposed to get high on your own supply.
They weren't paying me enough not to eat the candy, you know? But yeah, man, I mean, went from that. I just wanted to have money. I wanted to be able to earn money. I didn't, you know, wasn't going to get more allowance. So it was always just like, how early can I work? That was 14 and 15, got my first W-2 under a work study from in high school, and would ride my bike down to Santee Lakes. Another subtle plug, hidden gem of San Diego. Great campgrounds, tons of family fun, and a nice restaurant. But I was a boat boy. Put people on.
You were a boat boy?
Boat boy.
Boat boy.
Yeah, you spelled boat wrong. You have 2 ears. This is easy. Can we get the headphones for him, guys? Hey, Jamie, do we have a Jamie? Do we have anybody who comes in? Yeah, get him headphones. Boat boy, executive watercraft distributor, actually.
Put business cards?
Yeah, I couldn't afford them. Yeah, I'm working at 15 and it's never stopped. I mean, I worked from then on and just wanted to, I enjoyed it. I mean, I think actually that would probably be the thing, even talking to my kids, like I got a bunch of kids and even talking to them about wanting to earn money and things they could do in the neighborhood. There's something good about work. Work is not something that is bad. It's good. I mean, so yeah, it's originally not even burdensome. I mean, but we definitely toil and strive now. But yeah, I come from the conviction that work is actually a good thing. And you feel that when you work hard and are productive. And that's starting that early, I think, is great, which is one of the problems with a society that says, hey, don't worry about getting your first job till you're 26.
Did you go to college?
I did, yeah. Harvard on the Hill, Grossmont Community College in Cuyamaca. I was, look, some of the things that'll probably come out of our conversation today was, I wouldn't say that I was particularly studious. I had just enough aptitude to crash, study things, get good grades on tests, convince teachers to overlook me not turning in my homework and still give me grades to pass. And so it was, I was a B+ kind of student.
So do you use anything that you learned in college today?
I mean, I have the most
curriculum.
I know, I was like my wife. I mean, I married her and stuff, so like I don't use my wife. That'd be pretty messed up. Yeah, I'm sure I do, but I don't to what extent. I'm sure I learned math in school, and so I
But not
use
in
it.
college.
No, no math from college.
Do you use anything from college today as an entrepreneur?
No, not a nope. No, no.
What'd you
It
major in? Like music or something?
theater. No, I have communication, same thing, just theater of the mouth, but communication. So I went into school thinking I was going to be an engineer. Actually, I was doing electrical engineering, and that was where I started. And then I realized actually I was working at a contractor's office, and thought that was the path I was going to take. I was really good at math, crushed all my math, classes through high school and stuff. Got into college and was working in an electrical field, was doing electrical engineering, and was bothered by, to your point exactly, how none of it was relevant in the job I already had at 18. And the schooling I was doing did not apply whatsoever. And I was like, I can't do busy. That's a thing that I just can't personally do. I won't do it. I refuse. And so felt like every class, everything just felt like busy work and was not contributing to the evolution of my career at all, as far as I could tell, outside of at some point maybe having a piece of paper that said, hey, you're certified, you're a degreed electrical engineer. I went, but none of it mattered at work. So what's the point? So that was, then I
Do
pivoted
you
to
regret
communication.
going to college?
No, I would.
So if your kids came to you and said, I don't think it's for me.
I'd be totally fine with that. Yeah, I would say I do want them to think responsibly about that decision, why they are or not going to college. But I believe that like health insurance, the education system's not gone in the direction it should from an integrity standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's something that is better to have and not need than need and not have. And I tell my son this is that, all right, look, if you want to work for the family, you don't need college. We can teach you anything you need. If you want to start your own business, generally speaking, you don't need college, because 99% of being an entrepreneur, you don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Anybody, you don't know how to do. But if you want a career and you want to work for somebody else, which is totally fine because you don't have any of the liability, you get to enjoy all the perks of an employee, blah, 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 then college is necessary.
And it's certainly specialization. I mean, if
Yeah,
you want to
or if you want to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer.
Yeah, you have to do it. Yeah, you have to do it. So I think it is. I think you should be a lot more. I would argue that I want my kids to be a lot more thoughtful about why they will go to college than I felt like I had to be. I felt like we went to college at a time where it was a little bit of the last phase of going. You just are supposed to. It's like going to high school. You're almost told it's the new high school. Is really what it was.
That's like everything my parents worked towards was
Correct.
to get us to college.
That's right. Yeah. And that was like, we did it. If your kid went to college, in a sense.
Yeah. And I think that the examples that I laid out of, if you want to work for somebody else, you have to go to college. If you want to work for the family or start your own thing, you don't. That's a tough decision to make at 17 or 18 years old as well.
Yeah.
It's to make a decision at that point of what you're going to do for the rest of your life, because you may try being an entrepreneur and fail.
Right.
Probably fail, honestly.
Yeah. Which is
then you got to go back to
an education in and of itself. Though, I mean, that's almost a
but then to go
cheaper.
back and try to get a job, you don't have a degree, it's going to put you at a disadvantage to most HR departments, right? If you're talking to an owner, maybe they understand that, okay, hey, you tried to start your own business. I like that, blah, blah, blah. But an HR professional really doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
Correct.
So if you go work for a big company where there's tons of layers of middle management that you have to interview with, then a degree is required. They're not going to be able to identify those skills. That
comes back to the job you were just talking about. Right? I do think that there's going to be an element in like perceptive shift. It's getting talked about just like this. This wasn't a conversation 10 years ago that felt like it was even happening. But it does seem to me that people understand now there's ways to learn. There's access to knowledge. If you want to go get a job in a certain field, you can learn a lot about that field without having to go to school.
Yeah, outside of chemistry, law, and doctoring, there is nothing that's not in your pocket. So
Well,
even in some of those fields, there's better
WebMD
information here.
is incredible. It diagnoses
There you go. There you go.
You can diagnose anything these days.
Lawdegree.com.
You have a headache? Yes, we know what it is.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. I know so many people that lean on WebMD.
It's gross.
It is.
I'm not gonna say like that's a problem in my household for one of the two of us in the marriage to like go to WebMD when they shouldn't. Don't Google your symptoms like ever. Don't.
Yeah, that's bad. Just to see the results are
Yeah.
bad.
No, if you have a headache, it's well, you might have a tumor. Well, that's true. However, it's highly unlikely that because you have a headache.
You also may have just drank too many Cokes.
Have you had any water today yet? Which is my my big fat Greek wedding. The guys always like spraying Windex on things. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not
Okay.
much.
For
I don't watch
me,
those
it's probably your favorite. She would love it.
I'm
Okay.
sure.
You'll learn the difference between a bunt and a cake. You're welcome, everyone. Okay. I just always assume that the problem somebody has, why they're sick, is they didn't drink enough. I'm usually right. She's right. Your wife's the smartest person. Second, one of the two.
Like
smartest people you know.
every 2 to 4 minutes, she's telling my daughter, drink more water, drink more water. Drink
Well,
more
it's like the
water.
water in your mug right now. I mean, obviously you need that to stay hydrated.
Right. Yeah.
You need twice as much water because of that drink in your mug, the energy drink. Just so you're not getting buzzed.
But it doesn't Gatorade. Isn't that better than water?
H2O. Water's better.
Okay, so college, where'd you say you went?
Westmont, Cuyamaca, then San Diego Christian. So
Weir Mac?
Yeah, you heard it. Yeah, you spelled it. There's a Y in there.
Wire Mac?
Mac.
Quaker?
Quaker Maca. Yeah. Okay, respect the people. Okay, this is native land.
I
First
grew
Nation.
up next to Quakers.
Yeah. Oh, they're cool too. But Cuyamaca College, it's community college in San Diego. A couple community colleges in San Diego. They had engineering. That's where I was when I was going to do engineering. And I shifted over to Grossmont when I decided I was going to do
Is that
communication.
a 4-year school, Grossmont?
No, this is
Okay.
community college, junior
So
college.
do you have a
JUCO
bachelor's
stuff.
or
I
just
do.
your...
Yeah, I ended up getting my bachelor's from San Diego Christian College. Then I've done about a quarter of my master's in theology from seminary and stopped that in 2018. I put that on pause. But yeah, so I started my master's degree and then just never finished. But that was more, truly I was just wanting to study in a structured environment for theological studies. It wasn't even about the degree, which is part of why I didn't finish. It wasn't my goal to get the degree. I wanted the structured education, and so I went that route.
So have you been watching this Grant?
You want Wes Huff?
Wes Huff.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you guess?
Because
I was way off. Not Grant. Yeah, Wes Huff. Have you been watching?
Yeah.
Dude, he's
really smart.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, big fan.
The fact that just the way that he retains information
Yeah.
is incredibly impressive.
It's beyond me, yeah.
Were you aware of who Billy Carson was?
I was not.
Okay, so I was a Billy Carson fan
Right. Yeah.
prior to them
Conversation.
having that conversation or
Are
debate
you more
or whatever.
troubled by the conversation or the aftermath?
Oh, I don't give a shit about the aftermath, dude. I think it's great that Wes Huff is now in the spotlight. I think people like that deserve the spotlight, and I was disappointed in Billy Carson because the way I see Wes Huff now, I saw Billy Carson then. Now he was a little off as far as the stuff that he was saying, but
Wes Huff.
no,
Oh,
Billy Carson.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But the way that he retained information and
Yeah.
was able to dig into that file cabinet and pull the information
Really impressive.
immediately was very impressive. And so, but when things come to light, he is very, very much a businessman.
Yeah.
Which then you know what the incentive is. And when you know what the incentive is, you know
Yeah.
why they say certain things and why it's a little extra. And,
Fantastical. He's really
exactly.
sensational and fantastical with things and likes to, I liken him, there's some old theological guys that went off the rails but while they were building their career and making money off of what they were saying, and they would just leave you in suspense all the time with saying things you're like, I have no idea what to do with what you just said. And I think that Billy Carson, clearly, now having gone back, you're like, oh, he did that a lot.
Yeah.
It was like, he would say things, you're like, Jesus married.
But he's incredibly smart.
Oh, so smart. Oh, yeah.
Seriously, like he has a file cabinet
Oh,
brain like Wes Huff.
Super smart. Crazy smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy smart. That was an interesting exposure.
And he's put the legwork in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like he traveled the world like 30 times.
Yeah.
And I think he was just wrong in some of the things he was saying. And he got so he got
in
so
a rut.
determined.
He was
He
dug
got
in.
so
He was dug in.
determined that I'm right, I know my stuff. I'm the smartest guy I've ever met. So nobody can tell me different until Wes Huff came along
Yeah.
and he couldn't handle it.
Yep. You know what's funny? What it's not. Yeah. One of the things, because I've been watching since that was, I didn't know who Wes Huff was before then either. I didn't know any of that. And so then now I've seen too much stuff. I would say I really respect that it's really clear that Wes Huff is being intentional to avoid simply maximizing this new fame. He's sticking with his calendar over 90% of what he was doing before. He's still just doing. And I respect that. I'm glad for that to be happening. I think that the conversation that he had with Joe Rogan and the debate now with that Alex O'Connor's kind of coming up on with the whole word for word accuracy of the Isaiah scrolls. Anyways, I do wish that some of the guys that I've listened to, because I'm evangelical Christian. So I actually, before Wes Huff got on there, would say that while he knew tons of stuff I didn't know, I would have articulated that I have a ton of confidence intellectually tied up even in the reliability and the amazing history of textual artifacts that Christians have for the Bible that's unlike any other historical document ever, but it's not close. It's actually like uncomfortably not close. So, but they're not ever wordful. And so that was really, when he said that, I was like, I didn't know that. It seems kind of crazy. And I took it the same way I think that Joe Rogan did and Alex O'Connor, hearing him say that. And I want more people to be willing to say, no, you're right. Sorry, I should not have said it that way, that it was word for word the same, but that it should have simply said, and just admit, it should have simply said, unlike any other major document in the history of humanity, the similarity is striking. It's more similar, essentially the same, in a way that is unlike any other historical document in history. Homer's Iliad, any of the old Gaelic War copies in histories, nothing else is similar. And that's striking enough. And Christians don't rely on things being word for word in those manuscripts. We take the combination of all of them, and you can actually, having as many documents as we have, you can find the anomalies with an insane amount of certainty. And then our Bibles don't even say, like, the fact that they have parenthetical components to them, I think lends credibility to the fact that it's not trying to be something it's not. We're not saying that when I pull up an app on my phone and like, this is the Bible, that I'm not saying this is God inspired in this translation. We don't hold to that. And so don't start now. Don't try to interject that somewhere that it doesn't need to be, because it's just not actually Christianity. So anyways, but it's been really fun to watch the conversation get so much attention, because I think it's actually worth people looking into.
Yeah, I like his approach to it as well, to the topic as well. He never reaches the point where I've never heard him say the word faith.
Yeah, sure.
Where it's like totally, well, you have to believe, you have to have
a God
faith.
of the gap moment or something.
Yeah, and I've always been jaded when it comes to religion, not God, but religion. Some of the worst people I've ever met in my life were the ones standing on stage telling me how I need to live my life. But I think that I like the way that he goes after this topic. Very evidence-based. It's not mythical or, just faith-based. It's like, these are the stories that these guys told. These are the stories that these guys told. They're remarkably similar, thousands of years apart. So.
Yeah, and I don't know, did you ever listen to the Joe Rogan conversation that they had, that podcast?
Did. Yeah. But I'm also not well versed into ancient tablets or the Dead Sea Scrolls or any of that stuff. The closest was what Billy Carson would say.
Right.
But then he got into like aliens and stuff.
Right.
The fallen angels were really
aliens.
How we became who we are is that they were manipulating DNA or whatever, and they made us as worker bees because they were frustrated about how much work they were doing. Okay, yeah, so then you get into fallen angels and how they would manipulate our DNA, made us worker bees because they were ticked off about how much work they were doing, and there were no women. And but you know what? Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you don't have an argument of faith, there's just as much credibility to that as any other religion. Now, I think it's kind of maybe you don't believe that type of
Sure.
sensational or you
Yeah.
know extra stuff, you know, the extraterrestrial
Stuff.
type
Yeah.
stuff, but dude, that's a lot of space up there. Like, why? Okay, so riddle me this: why would God make us on Earth? But also, why would He make Pluto?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
It's just trial and error.
first of all,
But He's all knowing and
only
all
God knows if
perfect.
it's a
And
planet. Let's go there because nobody,
okay.
we just still don't know. You know,
Uranus,
let's-
Saturn.
Yeah, that's better.
Like, why make
Yeah.
those?
Yeah.
Is there must be a reason, which is
That it is the display of God's handiwork. So if God, all of creation,
then He put us on Earth and didn't give us any tools to see His handiwork. He's displaying His handiwork
He gave you eyes.
for whom?
Well, first of all, for himself. God's existence, first and foremost, is self. God is self-satisfied. God is eternally satisfied.
Then why does He need to flex?
Well, I think he delights in his being to reveal who he is. So he doesn't have to. I don't believe he has to, but he
To
says,
whom?
well, partly to us.
But why make other galaxies and other universes for us ants on a
Sure.
molehill, you
Yes.
know, called Earth?
Yeah, I believe it is because we will not only the fact that we're having this conversation proves to some extent that I don't even think what we already know about is even a pittance of what there is.
Okay, so
Let's
for
start there.
what's to come.
It is for eternity. It'll be an everlasting enjoyment and knowledge of creation that we will be able to experience.
See, I think that if we give credit for all of that,
Yeah.
eternity
Yeah.
and infinity
Yeah.
and all of that makes us less important.
For a second, like that's actually an okay place to be. However, our worth doesn't come, I don't believe our value or our worth comes from how we see, well, how capable we are. Sure, that definitely not. I mean, in that sense, ants is an appropriate comparison to the cosmos. With all of a sudden, if you look at cosmos and you look at us and ants as organisms, there's not much difference.
Well, other than we're built in the shape of God, right?
We're not in the shape of God.
The image
Created
of
in
God.
the image of God is not like just the Morpheus of this, but it's our bodies are made as an analogy. There's elements of who God is that are on display in how we're made and in how we think and in our agency. But so in that sense, ants to humans, apart from God, just us compared to the universe, we're the same size compared to the rest of the universe. I mean, that doesn't matter. Nothing. Only if there's worth given from the Creator is there a massive difference between us and like infinite difference between us and ants. And I think we all know that intrinsically that there's a difference between us and ants. Almost all of us know that. I think we all do. No, I do genuinely believe. I think there's definitely some people who get to a point where like us and the ants are the same. And I go, you've worked really hard to convince yourself of it, that we're the same as ants.
I think that as a species, there is an obvious difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an individual, I don't. I think that the self-importance assigned to you as an individual, or me as an individual, or anybody, has been
mostly overstated as a context of like culture.
In context of eternity.
Oh, okay.
That you are less than a speck of sand on the beach. In the infinite cosmos and the eternity of time.
Unless you're eternal.
But we are not.
Well, okay. I mean, and therein lies literally the line in the sand that differentiates how I would view another human is I go, you're eternal.
Okay, we'll prove it. I can prove my side.
That I'm not eternal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can prove my side.
Okay.
I die and you bury me in the ground.
Right.
Prove your side without saying the word believe or faith.
Well, you can't prove your side either.
I can't. I'm dead. Bury me in the ground.
You have to prove too that you don't have that you have no eternal component, no soul. Right. Hold on. And then that your body won't be resurrected from the dead. You have to prove that too.
Okay. That's literally never happened.
As for the record. But
yeah, that was God.
Well, good. This is the start. And if he rose from the dead, if that's true, if Jesus rose from the dead, if he did, one of the things that he's proving is that that's actually going to happen for all of humanity. That's actually his claim. So that's his claim.
Well, I mean, also there's a reason he did it within 4 days.
Yeah.
So what about grandma
There's
that's been buried
three.
for
Wait, it's not as
30
so.
years?
The raising on the third day was not to say you will raise on the third.
No, I know, but he was still intact at that point. But grandma that's been in there for 30 years,
Oh yeah.
she ain't grandma no more.
So if God could create everything ex nihilo out of nothing, if everything was created out of nothing, and whether you want to say that it was in that bang, blew up all over the place, if that's the argument that somebody's going to make, whatever. But if he made everything out of nothing, I have zero problems believing that whatever it looks like for him to resurrect your body and give you a new body will be resolved by God. Like that's not hard to, that's easy. That's child's play compared to creating.
So I think you saying that, so, hey, we'll take grandma from 30 or 50 years ago, who's now bones only in the ground, and I'll recreate her and resurrect her. Like, now I feel you're in the same sphere as Billy Carson of, okay, well, fuck, if that can happen, then fallen angels ain't a big stretch, gods. Because that was one thing that Billy Carson would say, is that in the Bible, every time you see God, there should be an S.
I think that gets resolved through proper understanding of the language. The way that the word is used, again, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, but I should be. Maybe I'll work on that. I should go to school for that. But that's resolved linguistically, and that's not a strong argument that it's making. But I understand what you're saying in the sense that that's the same kind of faith claim or, conclusion that you come to. And then you get into, and this is one of the things that I think Wes Huff is demonstrating right now in our context or in culture right now, is that the reliability of the oral tradition that's been recorded in manuscripts, when it wasn't even mostly a written belief, it was a oral tradition that's been captured, more written than any other belief system or structure, says, hey, maybe there's some credibility here that needs to be given, including things like, did Jesus rise from the dead? If he did, then you have to wrestle with, what the heck does that actually mean? Did he claim things? And if he did claim things and he rose from the dead, if, then I think I should listen to what he had to say. It seems to me that that's more credible than Billy Carson's claims of aliens or some, remote jungles claims of, becoming worker bees. Yeah. There's a credibility to the claim, if it's true, that nobody rises from the dead, but this one guy did. And he also claimed to be God, and he claimed these other things are going to happen because he rose from the dead. You go, I want to know what that is.
Yeah, I think my fear is that I just don't want to be worshiping a Chris Angel.
Sure, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was a extremely charismatic con man. Or magician.
Could have been, sure.
Magician
out of Egypt. Yeah, they all came out of Egypt doing magic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and he went to Egypt.
He went there as a kid.
And as an adult for 3 years.
So whether or not, there's zero other evidence, though, that he was, other than people saying he's from Egypt, so he does this stuff. You're doing this again. There's no claims from him or any of his followers to say that he was doing magic. I mean, that's something that we've imposed into the text.
Well, yeah, there's no claim of magic, but there is claim of I'm God's son.
Yeah.
AKA magic. Here, I'll turn water into wine. Type of stuff. And then, have you ever played the game Telephone?
Yeah.
Okay. Multiply that by 2,000 years.
Well, that's what happened. But that's
I guess that's just my concern.
Yeah.
There are extremely weird consistencies for 2,000 years as well.
Yeah.
And how all these different people came together to write the Bible.
Yeah.
And they're all
from different places, different times.
Different places,
even
different
languages.
Times, all kind of saying the same thing. But I guess my battle comes with taking the Bible, that was written by man, every word extremely literal, or every word so condemning if broken. Is it something that we look at and we get the essence of it rather than the details
Yeah.
of it. Which
Yeah.
that's the way I approach
Right.
religion. I think it's a phenomenal way to teach right and wrong. It's the moral authority, literally the moral authority. You can boil down,
Not just Christianity, you're
like,
saying religion in general, like faith-based systems, or
I would say Christianity
has a greater appeal to moral authority? Or what do you
is
mean?
the moral authority.
Acting moral authority?
Yeah, I mean, even why the laws that we have
Yeah,
today
for sure.
to live a
You think they're good, they bring good
sophisticated
things.
society.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, how do you know what's right and wrong? Like, or my parents told me, how do they know what's right and wrong? Well, they went to church, right? It's the Bible. So it is, everything kind of funnels back down to the Bible to figure out what is right and wrong. Otherwise, we're just like lions, hey, I'll kill anything. And there's no
Recourse.
I don't feel bad about
You
it
can't
or
put a
anything
lion
like
in
that.
jail for killing another lion. Lions don't go to jail.
Exactly.
It's almost like humans are different than animals. But yeah, no, I think it's all, I love these conversations. Like, we could do this all day.
But you do think our conscious and self-awareness, it was
Given to us by our creator and makes us unique. I don't care.
you don't think it was an accident?
No.
Not a nature.
No, whatever it is. Yeah, no. Natural selection, none of that stuff. Like, I absolutely believe, I'm fully convinced. And the older I get, the more I study, the more, and I serve as a pastor at my church too, and I preach. And when I preach, one of the things that when I'm preaching right now, I'm preaching from Joshua, which is 1,200 years before Jesus that I'm talking about. And you talk about, and there's all these authors in scripture for the books that we have, the books and letters compilation to make up the Bible. I love, things connecting or whatever, and seeing threads in, I don't care what it is. It could be in a good novel for all I care, like you go through Harry Potter, which is fantastic. And I love Harry Potter. And one of the things that Rowling did is these certain threads that show up later that you're like, man, that's incredible. You can see the woman's authorship and her brilliance on display throughout the bringing together, but under a single author that makes that happen. What makes, I think, the Bible, one of the things that's particularly fascinating to me and that I love when I'm teaching it is one author writing something that 3,000 years later I'm teaching, and I'm seeing how 1,200 years after this author wrote this other thing happened in the Bible from another author that is not referencing anything, but is so overwhelmingly clearly a thread. And you go, there is a single author to the Bible, and it's the Holy Spirit of God. And that's what the Bible claims, is that all of these were written by men inspired by the Spirit, not transcribed. So it's a different process by which God gave us the scriptures, but the threads that start at the beginning and show up all throughout are overwhelming to the senses, truly overwhelming. Like, it's numbing at times. How did this happen? Well, either it's just a ridiculous series of coincidences, or somebody goes and explains that at some point, some council put it together like this, but then we find documents that precede the councils that we first said did that. And you go, well, but it was there hundreds of years before the council. So how did that happen? How many councils are you going to say did this? I don't know. Maybe there's a single author. It's overwhelming. Like, it is overwhelming one way or another. And then it does appeal to your senses that you go, I do as much as, you fight to not have, I think you do have to fight to not have more meaning to life and to humans than ants. It's hard to hold that logic very far. Like, there's a reason why you don't create an ant sanctuary in your yard, because I think you do. I mean, you know that there's a difference to the value of a life of humans.
Yeah, I think that, so I've said this on several episodes actually, is that the way our brain operates is it avoids burning calories.
Yeah.
So, I mean, its sole function is survival. And so it's not going to burn calories. It needs to keep calories to survive, right? And I think the same about religion, is that it's very easy.
Religion's easy?
It's easy because you just accept. I don't have to question. I don't have to think. I just need to be told what to do. It's very sheepish.
Sheepish is right, but
I grew up in the church, so I can talk about these things.
Sure.
Just like I talk about people from Indiana. Dude, I'm from Indiana. I can talk shit about it. So I think that religion is a way to not burn calories and just accept that there is no explanation. And so you don't dig, you don't research, you don't think, you are just being told.
I think I could let me go on record, let the record reflect. I can actually get, generally speaking, on board with that, in the sense that I do believe that there's a ton of people who have religion as a crutch.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go there.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just not my cup of tea.
Right. But I will say that I don't think that, I definitely don't think that's always true. Like the amount of effort I put into my understanding of my religion, if you
have to be the man on stage telling everybody.
I'm not paid for that. No, dude, that's the labor that I do because I think it's worth it. Okay. So I burn way more calories in my brain space because of my convictions than I would apart. Without a doubt. I mean,
yeah, you're the exception, not the rule.
I don't think I'm that exceptional. I mean, I don't think I'm that exceptional.
What sort of thinking do you have to do other than read the Bible?
Dude, just think about like the amount of relational equity that goes into pastoring people on the grounds of...
Yeah, there's one pastor and there's 500 people in the audience. I don't know what your audience size is.
No, we're not that cool.
Are you a mega church?
We're small. I really little. I think we'll with a face like
that. Are you one of those TV?
No,
TV
we're not on this. No, we're not. So we
just the biggest
thing. I gotta look. I could sit here for as long as anyone criticizing religion. I'm with you. I do believe that I do believe there's truth that exists outside of me and outside of you. And that truth is on display. And I do believe that everybody needs to believe that, or there's eternal consequences for not getting the forgiveness that you need. So saying that, but I don't believe that. I think there's lots and lots and lots of people who burn more calories because of their beliefs than anything.
I think it's a catch-all. It's a catch-all for anything you can't explain. It's a catch-all for anything you don't want to defend. It's a catch-all for anything that you don't want to own up to. Like, all right, hey, you like this Pete Hegseth guy. There's always two sides to this story.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Even the way I think, there's two. I always believe two things, I guess, and I just try to weigh
this duality or this tension all the time.
Yeah. This. I think he'll make a phenomenal Secretary of Defense.
Are you sure?
But I also think he's a dirtbag.
Sure.
Same thing with Donald Trump. Like, I wouldn't trust him alone in a hotel room with my wife, but I think he's probably the right man for the job to shake shit up. But I think he's a piece of shit sometimes, And, this Pete Hegseth guy has cheated on 2 of his wives.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. I mean, I don't know.
So anyways, he's sitting there testifying in front of the Senate, right? Or the House, whoever. Yeah. And they're asking these questions, and his just default answer is, "Oh, my personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, has given me a second chance." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Every answer
sounds
just
good.
A catch-all.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Just a catch-all.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, I do believe that people. Well, Paul, who wrote a lot of the New Testament, he's actually at the scene of the first Christian stoned to death for preaching. He was there. He approved it. He used to kill Christians. He was actually on the Christian witch hunt party at the early church. My point is, you could do really terrible things and be forgiven. That's actually kind of the point, and that all of us, no matter how bad your things are, need that. But I think that a lot of people are like, in Donald Trump's, well, not only that, I mean, it's actually disgusting. The hardest part of the inauguration for me was listening to Franklin Graham pray, who confesses to be an evangelical Christian, and then he's comparing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance to Moses and Aaron, and like, dude, it drives me nuts, because I do think that there's faithful understanding of Scripture, and then there's whatever the heck else is going on.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever that was. Yeah, it's easier for me to listen to somebody who just absolutely doesn't believe in God and in the God of the Bible, who I would say is the one true God, and says all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I don't expect anything different from you. But then when somebody is putting on the banner of the things that I believe, I like, it's actually agonizing, because I'm like, that is just not what the Bible allows.
Yeah, all that stuff's just a show, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I have a question.
Yeah. Jesus
was Jewish?
Just sent. Yeah, Jesus sent.
So I'm a simple-minded fool.
Yeah.
If the Son of God was Jewish, why shouldn't I be Jewish? Like, isn't that the safest route to go?
No. So he upheld the entire Jewish law. Okay. The difference between Jesus and current practicing Jews is that Jesus knows that he's God. The current practicing Jews don't believe he was God. So that's what flipped from being part of just there's Jewish lineage, Jewish blood of the Israelites. Okay. And then there was holding to the old Mosaic laws and Levitical priesthood and all of that the people who currently proclaim to be, whether it's Orthodox or I don't remember what they call themselves, but the other branch of Judaism there's a handful. But anyways, they don't believe Jesus was the Messiah. So they deny his messiahship. And so, no, I mean, that's actually what Jesus said was he changed. He came in the fullness of time as a fulfillment of the promised seed of Eve, that he would, in the lineage of Eve, would come and be born and save his people from their sins, which was on display through the Old Testament Jews, the Israelites, and then transition in the New Testament. The main emphasis of the New Testament is saying there's now no longer just a chosen group of blood people, that it was always about the faith now on display to all people. So Acts 1:8 says that the disciples of Jesus are supposed to go to the ends of to Judea, Samaria, and all the ends of the earth, proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. That's the shift. But he was of Jewish descent from blood, and he upheld the entire and fulfilled, he says it his way. I mean, he says he fulfilled the entire Mosaic law. And they killed him because he made himself equal with God. He claimed to be equal with God, and that's what they killed him for. That was the blasphemy that they killed him for. So no, having the same, deciding to have Jewish background or follow a Levitical law won't do you any good.
Okay, so speaking of connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We call this the weave. We call this the weave here. Yeah, the weave.
So let's go back a little bit to prior to whenever you got into college. What kind of kid were you? How would other parents describe you as a kid? Are you the one that they told their children to stay away from?
No.
Are you the one like, hey, you should hang out with Nathan more?
So look, third grade, up to third grade, a couple of my closest friends, Matt and Mike Hussman, real good friends. They taught me how to swear. Hey guys, they said to me, remember one day, they were like, man, you cuss more than anyone we know. F yeah, I do. Like, need to make sure they knew. And then my parents started feeling like the public school wasn't a good place for me to be. Like, the kids could rub off on me. They didn't know I was the problem. So they sent me to private school. And in fourth grade, Mrs. Sorrentini, that's probably Sorrentini. Let's go with that. They don't know. Hey, she claimed to be 101 when I was in school, but I bet she was like 75, but I didn't know any difference back then. She cleaned me up. She got me sober, from the old potty mouth there. Mm-hmm. And I was an absolute poster child of the optical good kid from fourth grade through high school. Like, yeah, it was pretty going. Bad. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I didn't really start becoming a Christian until I was 19. I didn't really walk with the Lord and study scripture until I was like 19. But man, I would win every sword drill. I looked like the perfect kid. I had it all together in terms of my outward behavior and all that. I was a nerd. I mean, I remember the first time.
Not a smart one.
Not a real smart one. Smart enough, not a very hardworking one. I was like, I wanted to go shoot wasp nests. I didn't want to do my homework. But yeah, dude, I was a little nerd. I mean, I wore oversized, solid colored T-shirts. I don't think my pants reached my shoes until my sophomore year of high school. I remember saying to my mom, I want to get a pair of Nikes. And she literally started crying. She was like, I was wearing New Balance before New Balance was cool. I was wearing New Balance. And she's like, my kid's like getting an opinion of his own. I remember like that dreadful moment for my mom that I was like trying to like have my own way about me and not dress like a nerd anymore with cargo pants and stuff. But pretty, I would say pretty normal kid overall. And yeah.
So when you okay, so now let's jump forward. When you graduated college, what kind of jobs did you have?
In college, I'm going to work again throughout. So executive watercraft distributor. So working at Santee Lakes, went from Santee Lakes to yogurt mills, soft serve yogurt, my senior year of high school, to working at an electrical contractor's office. So I was doing estimating, project coordinating, They gave me 2 weeks in the field pulling wires, and they're like, he's not built for this. You need to get into an
Okay,
office.
so that's 24, 25 years
This
old.
is 18.
18. Okay.
18, yeah.
What about after college?
So I was working initially as a caretaker for a quadriplegic and at Best Buy. So I finished college at Best Buy.
What department?
Best Buy for business. So I got promoted from the home theater department. I really slung
the best
it.
department.
Oh yeah, it's a good time. So slinging TVs back in the days of the first LCD, DSP projector screens, getting away from the 390-pound tube TVs, and we finally got into the some lightweight 50-pound TVs or whatever, and surround sound. And I did really well with that. I liked sales at that time because it was non-commission for me. I never ever had any incentive to rip anyone off. Right? There was nothing in it for me. In fact, so much so, it's part of why I quit. But they moved me into Best Buy for business, just working with business owners. And let's be honest, I mean, most of the kinds of business owners who were coming into Best Buy telling you that they were a business owner, it was it was not like they, if you're coming there for special treatment, it's kind of, it says something about you a little bit. Usually they own a handful of restaurants or something like that, and, or an RV flipping, somebody owned an RV flipping business or something. But my job was I wore a tie, pleated pants, and was supposed to be the master of all departments, and they tracked us. That was one of the things that started happening, is they actually tracked our sales in that department.
That's why you got fired.
That's why I fired myself. So I actually won this thing. They did a quarterly all hands meeting. They put you on TV in front of all the regional stores. So SoCal. So San Diego up through Santa Barbara was our area, our territory. And I won salesman of the quarter. Highest gross profit, $2 million in gross profit to Best Buy, tracked 2.1. And they gave me recognition, and they gave me a gift. Worse, I wish they gave me a gift card, because half my money was going back to Best Buy. I mean, in car audio systems,
Sure,
I was spending all my money. They were getting me for half the price, because I was just buying back from them everything that I wanted. They gave me a picnic set as a gift. Look, I'm in an 18, 19. Here we are. No, I guess I'm just getting out of college. So
a Little Red Riding Hood.
It gets close. I wish.
Basket
Even
with
then, you got it. What are the two things that go into a picnic set that make it a picnic set?
You
got it, the blanket. Yeah, and you already said it. The basket and blanket. If I'm gonna go take a girl out on a date, so now I think I'm pushing 22 at this point. Just graduating college, and working at Best Buy and caretaker quadriplegic stuff. So they gave me this award, gave me a picnic set, and there's only two things. If I'm going to take a girl out on a date, I need those two things, because otherwise you're not setting up a picnic. A blanket and a basket.
You're just eating.
That's a lawn snack.
Eating on the lawn.
Yeah, it's a lawn snack. That's trash people stuff. So I open it up, and it's in a neoprene zipper bag. So it's in a zipper bag. I'm not going to take this tote out on a picnic to impress a girl. This is a woman I want to marry, whoever it's going to be, at least at the moment. And inside are 2 cups. That's good. There's 2 people, 2 cups. Plastic, washable cups. 2 sets of silverware. That's good. I mean, granted, it's always nice to share the charcuterie board with one. You want an excuse for that.
Sure.
Really heightens the experience. A blanket. Well, and this is where I go into, when you're going to do anything, don't do anything one butt cheek. Okay, this is the one butt cheek blanket. I know it wasn't a napkin because there was one.
A hand towel.
This thing was a cheek towel. There was one, so I know it wasn't napkins, unless they only gave me one napkin. But it was big enough for one butt cheek. I was not going to be able to take a girl, and it was a black and white checker. It's got to be red and white. So no basket, one butt cheek a blanket to sit on. I literally threw the thing away and put in my 2-week notice.
That's hilarious.
I was done. I was like, dude, I learned this is not, you're better off not giving me this basket or this gift. You could have just.
I'd rather be disappointed than pissed off at my employer.
Yeah. But I'm like, you're at Best Buy with a 22-year-old dude. You could have given me anything in the store, a $50 gift card. I would have been thrilled. But you tried to put your brand on some dumb neoprene one cheek blanket, and I'm out. I quit.
Yeah. That's funny, dude. Yeah, I'm
out.
Okay. And then what?
playing poker.
Professionally? Or
I
like you were making money?
Yes, I got through college playing poker. So I took money from my friends to get through college. A little bit of casino. Then a good buddy of mine was like, "Hey, do you think you should be going?"
Have you ever seen 21?
I like the idea of knowing more math when it comes to poker than my friends and using that against them and not believing in the gut. I never get a gut. God, I'm going to get a card. Math is a math. Man, give me the math. I was playing poker with this guy who owned an Allstate agency, which I think this kind of takes us into like how I got into insurance. This is where it was.
Okay.
Right.
So illegal gambling into, okay.
I went from, yes, underground gambling to public gambling. Yeah. Like really, really clear professional gambling, which is all insurance is. But this guy says to me, I'm taking his money and he goes, hey, you'd probably be really good at insurance. And I'm 23 now. And I actually have a serious girlfriend thinking about getting married. This is just before getting engaged. I was like, insurance? I mean, that sounds like a big boy job. Maybe I should stop working at Best Buy. All these things come together at the exact right time to like quit the job. That was the poker kind of conversation to come up, thinking about getting married. So it's like February, they give me this award for the end of Q4 from the year prior, or whatever. And so I start insurance in spring of 2009. I get into insurance and start working at Allstate. I get hired the same day as 3 other salespeople. So all 4 of us join this office the same day. And from day one, they put us into a sales contest. They're just like, whoever sells the most is getting an all expenses paid vacation. I was like, this is dope. It was like, Mediterranean cruise, go to the UK, go to Italy thing. Like it was all these things. I'm like, that's my honeymoon. I'm going to get married. This is going to be my honeymoon. And this is way better than anything I can afford. So I jump in like all the way in head first to working at Allstate, and actually like pretty quickly, they got the scoreboard up and they're keeping track of all 4 of us. And I'm like just running away with this. Halfway through, they take it down and I ask, hey, why'd you take it down? And I go, people were getting demoralized. I just want them to think they have a chance. And I was
That's the way I was at Enterprise.
Just running away with these things. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't feel like it. I just took my non-commissioned sales mentality, which is just ask a bunch of questions, figure out what people have going on, solve their problem. And that really is good sales, unless you're in a sales field where you have to convince people to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do. But whether somebody comes in for home theater, they want a TV and they don't know whether or not they care more about a sound system or not. And then when it comes to Allstate, you just have to ask a couple questions like, hey, if this happened, what would you do? I wouldn't have the money for that. Well, then you probably need to pay $4 a month that you won't miss so that you don't run into this problem. That's all. Like that's the conversation, and it served me really well, even though I felt weird having commission finally attached to something. And they're giving me a commission for a policy. I didn't like that mentally, but I just operated the same as I did before and ran away with it. 6 months goes by, I get promoted to managing one of his offices, which really just gave me a ton of time to do fantasy football. I think I had 12 fantasy football teams that year because it's just like sitting there drafting fantasy football in between phone calls that come in, and then at the last minute, the boss reneged on the sales competition. And I quit. I said, God, it's like a picnic set all over again. I'm like, I'm out of here.
Right, so where'd you go next?
San Diego Christian College, worked as an admissions counselor.
Okay, skip that. What happened next?
Well, it got me. That's what got me.
To the story?
It is, because that job was getting really frustrating. The school really wasn't being run very well, to be honest. And I'm up the 99. I'm up on the 99, which is, I think they actually call it like Satan's butt crack or whatever it is, like going up through Modesto and Visalia and all that stuff. And I had a really frustrating college fair in Bakersfield, like 105 degrees and 9 o'clock at night. And then my car's not working the next day. I'm newly married. I'm still in the first few months of marriage. And my wife's frustrated that I'm traveling and gone and all this stuff. Rock bottom, dude. This was my come to Jesus moment, No, but I'm really just frustrated and going, that insurance thing didn't pan out. This job is not a career. What am I really going to do? I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next, but I can't keep doing this forever. And I almost quit that night. And I decided, no, I need to honor my commitment of finishing this travel season for the school. And then I'm going to explore options. Then I'm going to get into it. And I go to a coffee shop in the morning and I'm reading, and I get a call from my dad that he had gone to dinner with their life insurance agent. They the guy who wrote the policies for my parents. I knew who he was, and my childhood always had a lot of respect for him. His name's Brad Quick, and he mostly did life insurance, but he'd also done some small group health insurance. And he sold his business to a guy named Eric, and I went and worked for Eric. This is what ended up happening. When Brad sold his business to Eric, he told Eric, hey, I need you to get some sort of continuation plan here because something happens to you. I can't have the clients coming back to me because I'll actually help him because he's that kind of person. He doesn't want to in his 70s start up again. So he basically told Eric, you need a continuation plan. And so he played a little matchmaker and had me join Eric. I still had my license from Allstate, which actually had a life and health license plus my PNC, and joined Eric. And that's how I got into benefits. That's where I got into health insurance and working with companies and kind of going to the next phase of insurance, which is where I've been ever since. So 15 years later.
Okay. So and this is before you started your own thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, but this is the one right before.
Yes. This is my immediate before.
So all the way up to this point, has starting your own thing or being an entrepreneur or owning your own business ever been a thought in your head or part of the game plan, part of the end game? What do you think in your past made you think that way? Because not everybody thinks that way. They think, I'm going to climb the ladder, I'm going to be a specialist or whatever, right? They think more about their career than about what could I build or start.
Yeah, I mean, because as a kid, I thought I might be a lawyer.
Then you thought you were going to be an engineer.
Right. Well,
I thought I was going to be an astronaut.
Those are all employee jobs, right? Ultimately, typically, now I'm a lawyer, an engineer, you can go start something. But whatever I did, I definitely had the mentality that I didn't always want to do it for someone else. That always existed as something that was running parallel to whatever job I was thinking of, which was never insurance. No. Insurance agent. Unless your dad's an insurance agent, you don't think about being an insurance agent. And even when your dad is an insurance agent, you probably think whatever I have to do to not do that is the only time you think about it until you eventually do it. Eventually you'll cave. But
my widget was always entrepreneurship.
You knew that. Yeah. Your widget. Yeah.
I was never, I hate the word passionate, but I was never excited about a certain industry or widget.
Never had.
Never. Other than baseball. But
Right.
But I knew that I wanted to play baseball and start my own business. Always.
Yeah, you might have had that earlier than me. I mean, even thinking back to like Wasp shooting, like that was my idea and things. I'm just like, I'm going to do the hustle, like whatever that looks like. And I want to do it on my own terms, something that's fun. I always do. And that was actually really fun shooting down wasps.
Do you think doing that made you comfortable with having your own thing?
So my problem, I'm not sure comfort. My problem is that I actually don't think enough about the consequences. So even
comfort.
Yeah, well, right. But I mean, it's not even like I think about them and go like, I'm good with that. I just have my eyes sort of fixed on why I'm doing what I'm doing. And the rest of the sensation isn't really there. In fact, I was talking with a good friend on the phone this morning about how I think anxiety is something, for instance, that I just don't actually think enough about. I don't have, it's a general disposition of calm about things. I mean, I might be a bubbly personality and be, whatever, but I'm just not naturally anxious about things, including, when I probably should be. Rationally, when I started my business, I shouldn't have done that.
Do you consider yourself a competitive person?
Mostly with myself, though. I'm actually more competitive with myself than I am with others.
Yeah, I'm competitive with the task.
Yeah.
More so than competitors.
I want to do better than I've done before, if that makes sense. I'm motivated a lot by that. In fact, even when I was into video gaming and stuff, that what got me, yes, I absolutely want to win. I really want to win. And I will work really hard to win at things, but my focus is less about what other people are doing that I need to be better than, and what I need to improve in my own actions to be better than I was, so that I can win. If that makes sense. That's been my fixation. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that there was something in your past that made you able even to start your own business, or was it pretty immediate? Like something bad happened at work, I'm starting my own thing.
Yeah.
Or do you think it was a long sequence of events or something in your in your past that
I think that I actually think I could, which may be not that attractive to say. I think I could have worked for other. I think I could have worked for others my whole career. I think that could have happened. I do believe that because of my competitiveness with myself, even in the phase I'm at in my own business at this point, I'm seeing I'm what's most motivating me in this current season is growing as an entrepreneur and as a business owner to be better than I was yesteryear, and that's still propelling me. So I don't know if at some point that would have just flamed out and I just at some point would have had to go out and do my own thing. When it happened, which was after 5 years of working for Eric, when it happened, it was very much that I could take a signing bonus to go work for one of the big agencies. They were offering me money to come over there. Even before they're really throwing money the way they are now at people, like that's silly money for people to hop ship these days, the cheap acquisition that they see. It was a little before that was catchy, but it was still like 6-figure nut. If I took it, could have had a handful of cash. And I just said, I believe if I jump out of this plane right now at 30,000 feet, I'll find a parachute between here and the ground. It's irrational.
and if not,
I hope I bounce.
well, or
Yeah, I could always go back. Yeah, that was a
some
safety
money
net.
is
Yeah,
still
for
there,
sure. They'll give
right?
me some amount to come over there without a doubt. Yeah. I'll have a job if I stay in this industry.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a calculated / safer
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
gamble.
I knew somebody over there would throw me a parachute, I suppose, if I got desperate enough. Somebody over there would throw me a parachute. But I didn't really think about failure much. I just thought about do. It was less about what could go wrong and more about what would go right, was sort of the mentality.
Okay, so same question. Do you think that there's something in your past that you can pinpoint? Because if somebody asked me what your story was, and I'll put a little intro together for this, but if somebody asked me what your story was, like, man, this kid started a wasp hunting business, and that was the spark that gave him the confidence to do well in sales, the money, seeing that how much work you put in is how much money you get out of it, was layered on top of, the young entrepreneurial ambition of wasp hunting, and then opportunity. It's like, success is where preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so I feel like some of your jobs, wasp hunting, retail, and then B2B, was all preparation to when the opportunity crossed to where, okay, I know enough, I have enough business to start my own thing, and you did. Success.
Yeah, I think it's worth being fully transparent and saying, partly because I don't want to discourage anybody who says, I don't know my story. I don't know my moment of when I can't fixate. I can't get my eyes on a particular crux of my watershed moment in my childhood. I don't think it's worth or helpful for me to say that I had that pivotal light bulb moment. What I do believe, and it's kind of what you just articulated, and I am fully convinced of this, that my life prepared me for entrepreneurship, prepared me for having a business, prepared me for B2B because of what transpired.
Was it on accident or was it deliberate?
I would argue that I don't believe that I was as deliberate toward that goal. Like, I didn't fixate on the widget of entrepreneurship, if you will. But I made a lot of decisions along the way, which included things like I want to have a real job at 15, and working before that, wasp hunting. I want to go work for money. I'll go work. I'll put in the effort, and I want the autonomy that I get, the options I get from earning. Again, I do think merit is so overwhelmingly underrated right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that merit early on was a factor in something that drove me this thing. Why does this keep happening? How many sponsors do you have? Like Ghirardelli too?
Yeah, on this scene, the camera would be showing you.
Yeah, exactly. That's really funny. But I think that from my first entrepreneurship of wasp hunting to working in retail, selling to business owners and interacting with business owners, and even just seeing their way of thinking, experiencing that starting just after high school and throughout college. And then the meritlessness of big box retail. You grind, you work hard for them, you do a great job, and they give you nothing but it's an insult.
In any of your jobs, did you ever deal with the general public?
Best Buy for
Well,
sure.
B2B is...
But I was B2C out before I was in Best Buy for business. I was B2C with selling people TVs and, all that.
What do you think about that experience?
Yogurt mill too. Yogurt mill, you have customers come in and boats too. Put people, I saw the looniest of characters at Santee Lakes, that's for sure.
So I'm going to tell you a story that maybe shaped how I am today even a little bit of how I wanted to earn everything I ever got. Was I worked at Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that means you were like a decent human being because they only hire decent human beings.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about situations where you would rent a car.
Yeah.
Your boss is sending you out of town. You're renting a car to go on spring break. Like what's more stressful than a bunch of kids and timing of getting the right van and blah, blah, blah. Or you just got in an accident and you need a replacement vehicle. It's one of the worst days of your life is having to figure that stuff out. And so I was always dealing with people in shitty situations. Nobody was a delight by any means. Seriously, my best customers were the drug dealers on weekends.
Yeah.
And
they were about to have a great weekend.
Yeah, they come rent a car so the cops don't recognize the vehicle. And so, but what happened was I was at Enterprise when they started accepting debit cards. It used to be only credit card. You got to be over 25 and have a credit card. Then they started accepting debit cards and like even prepaid cards. But you needed to bring in 2 bills with the same address, and one had to be a phone bill, up to date, like paid up to date. At the very least, we knew we could contact you if you stole a vehicle.
Right. Well, drug dealers aren't there to do that.
So, but what started happening was, and this was when Obama just got into office, or he had been in office for a couple years. But anyways, people would try to pay with debit cards. Like, all right, I need 2 bills. One has to be a phone bill. And people would say, well, I got an Obama phone. Like, what you talking about?
Yeah. What's up about? I didn't know about these.
Well, I want that Camaro, brand new Camaro, $200 a day. And I don't have a phone bill because I have an Obama phone. I get a free phone from the government. Like, hold on, you're here to rent the Camaro for $200 a day? Yeah, like, all right, so hold on. I got here at 5 o'clock this morning, blistering cold, in a suit and tie, soaking wet from washing cars. And I won't leave here until 9 o'clock at night after I wash more cars and prepare for tomorrow. And I get paid $32,000 a year. That's like the standard deduction.
Right. You're actually just disqualified from FPL. Yeah, you just didn't make the cut for.
So I've been I'll work my ass off for, 15 hours. I can't afford that Camaro. But you come in here and you have a
free phone,
Obama phone, and you're renting a Camaro for $200 a day.
Something's wrong.
Something's not right. And that's what really jaded me, that I don't care how much free stuff, if I was in that position, I would get. I don't want to be anything remotely close to whatever that is. I don't want to be that.
Yeah, dude. I respect that. And I have a similar story in my first real apartment after I got married. Like just my neighbors and things going on with my neighbors and being like, you're getting a discount on all your services because of your income, but you're just home playing video games all day long.
Yeah.
And it just drove me nuts. It bothered me. It's really hard to see. And I'm honestly, look, there's the overdeveloped sensitivity of justice in me that's bothered by that. And then there's this other part of me that's just like, I'm so freaking sad for you. Like that's going on in your life. Like I'm sad for you.
Yeah. I never really thought about the individual much. It was just about like, that seems wrong to me.
Yeah.
That seems wrong to me. And I don't want to be anywhere near that type of thing. nothing against you personally. I'm sure everybody has their own story, but I just don't want any part of that in my life that's toxic to me. And that, I think that was when the flame started, right? So like before that, enterprise, coaching baseball, giving lessons, doing anything I can just to make ends meet. Hard to think about, what you're destined for at that point, right? You're just trying to put food on the table. But, having to check my bank account to go get a Monster at the gas station, and, these people coming in and renting Camaros or Yukons or the new Mustang or whatever for a couple $100 really bothered me. And I think that was when I got another injection of fuel.
Yeah.
After that. And I'm like, okay, now I have purpose. I need to put together a plan, make as much money as I can. So that's when I got into sales.
Yeah.
And then I started Googling stuff. Like, what's the most expensive thing I could sell? And that's why I rented a car and came out here.
A lot of good life choices too for you. I mean, making that happen and being out here.
But I knew I wanted to be business to business.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
After that experience.
Yep.
I don't want to deal with the general public. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was the manager branch, the biggest branch in Indiana. And I went and dropped off some vehicles at a corporate client.
Mm-hmm.
Because we go park them at their parking lot.
Yep.
So those people go to town or whatever. I came back, line out the door.
Yeah.
And I walk in and I don't see any of my workers at the desks. And so I look back down the hallway and I see some people cleaning cars. And then I look behind the desk. There's this guy, one of my employees, sitting down, hiding from these people. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, I'm in here taking grenades, man.
Dude's in the trenches. He's just literally hunkered down in the trenches.
I'll never forget that. I'm like,
man,
oh my gosh.
Poor guy thinks he's back in NAM, but he's 22.
He was a veteran.
Oh, he really was? Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Taking grenades. Dude, that's funny. I wholeheartedly understand that sentiment, though. And B2B is, there's something
it's not great,
I appreciate about that.
It's not great, but it's better.
Yes. Yeah. No, I enjoy it. I enjoy it more.
Okay, so interesting. All right, so let's fast forward to you actually making the jump.
Yeah. Was
it situational, or was it, hey, this is part of my plan, or was it out of necessity?
Both. I mean, I was there working for that other agency for 5 years, had a little bit of success, and it felt like a crux for me of just going, a watershed moment. This really is one of those few where I go, take that signing bonus, go work for the big agency, but no, you're locked up for another at least 5 years, before you're going to go do your own thing. And
but why are you thinking about leaving?
A couple of key factors. I mean, I kind of had a silver spoon situation. It was, hey, come in here. You're going to be a succession plan. You're going to be the next guy to run this agency. The guy had a decent book going, but he had 3 sons that had no interest in the business. And as they started to kind of get a little older, like I said earlier, like at some point you go, well, maybe that's not a bad gig, right? And so they started showing some interest. I went to Eric one day and I just said, hey, I don't want anything we have in place getting in the way of you and your boys. And he goes, no, it would never. I mean, never. So what we have still stands. I mean, maybe I'd sell half of it to them. And I was like, okay, perfect. That was what I needed to hear. Because it told me that he's trying to juggle keeping me happy to stay around and really wrestling with whether or not he's going to even include his kids in succession planning, when it was originally, I'm selling this thing to you 100%. And I didn't need it. It didn't matter that he was thinking 50-50 in and of itself. It's that he's dealing with the tension between me and his boys, having an interest in this. And I don't want that. That's one. 2, it had become really clear that he and I just didn't view running a business the same way. His support staff was not strong, not very good, and hadn't been given a raise in 12 years. Because then he got what he was paying for. And I just went, I can't grow my book if I have to do all the service, because I don't want to hand them off to this individual who's not doing a good job. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my clients. I have to sell and serve my clients entirely. Why am I doing that here? What value do I have staying here versus going out on my own? And at that point, made the decision, I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump out of this plane. My wife was on board. We just bought our first house. We were living in Lake Elsinore, bought our first house, are about to have our third kid, and took a pay cut in half. It's like cutting this thing in half, hired an employee right away, and launched my agency. And at that time already, at that point, I knew I wanted to grow something that would be not just benefits, it'd be commercial and benefits. I saw that would be an advantage long-term to the strength of the agency. So kind of had that on my radar and bootstrapped it. I mean, I just funded it myself with whatever revenue I had coming in, was paying him money to leave. Basically, I'd actually signed an agreement prior to getting hired that if I ever left, I'd pay him 50% of my book for 2 years, which I didn't know was an unlawful agreement at the time. I didn't know a W-2 couldn't be told to do that. I mean, I just thought he was doing me a favor, which is part of some of the strain that as I learned that wasn't a very good agreement, that wasn't a lawful agreement even, and not even an enforceable agreement, that I was like, that I'm losing trust. And this is maybe the biggest flame for me probably was my struggle to feel like I wanted to go somewhere, because I kept feeling like people that I was working for, I was having trouble trusting. That was always that is the quickest way for me for things to fall apart for me, is if I can't trust you, I can't work for you.
At the same problem.
Yeah. That's a really hard, that's beyond sustainable. I mean, life's too short for me to work for someone I don't trust. And I didn't, going into the next job, even the one consequence that scared me was going somewhere and not having management that I trusted there. When I went, okay, I'm not willing to do that and have these kinds of things come. I had at that same time, actually, I had just gone through, the reason I ended up in Lake Elsinore was I had a landlord who did this similar thing of just really a weird thing, man. And you talked about it earlier, even just about, people of faith having like this, this is what faith is. Everybody do the right thing. And then you watch what they're doing and you're going, that's not good. That doesn't hold water, man. Those things, you're compartmentalizing faith with action almost, and saying, well, this is my faith and that's my business. So I run my business different. I'm going, I can't make sense of this. So I think actually that might be one of the most powerful catalysts for me of going out and doing my own thing, was struggling to trust people that I'd worked for.
Yeah.
Which is probably a lesson to all of us, including myself, of like the importance of maintaining trustworthiness and integrity towards my employees and towards my team and towards my clients. If they can't trust me, they have nothing. And my relationship is bankrupt, Yeah. So went out, I was paying him a portion of my commissions as I'd agreed to do.
So what convinced you that you could start your own thing? I mean, because I say this on every episode, I feel like, but there's no such thing as a 40-hour work week, especially in the beginning stages. There's no such thing as a 40-hour work week. There's no such thing as a 401k match. There's no such thing as PTO. There's no such thing as weekends or holidays or any of those things as an entrepreneur. And your brain will avoid burning calories or putting yourself in danger. What was it? I feel like it has to be a little bit of an extreme to fight nature and make that jump and put yourself into harm's way. And at that point in your life, you have responsibilities. You have wife, kids, home. You have bills that are not going to go away. Is your wife a millionaire?
No, she's a missionary kid. Yeah.
So like what do you think was the extreme that really made that flame go to put yourself into harm's way? That's a big decision. What was the calculation? What was the justification? Or what was the push that made you do that?
It's a good question. There's a couple of factors that I think are most substantial in that decision. One was my wife's support. She's in all the best ways a little crazy.
Emotional support or cheerleading support or financial support?
Not financial. I wish she didn't have any money. So, I mean, I was the only income. She was a stay-at-home mom already. So it was just my income. I didn't have any other income. I'd already done, like when I was started in insurance, I was working multiple jobs. I was doing online teacher's assistant stuff for Ashford University and work. Like we've done the peanut butter and ramen thing, like peanut butter jelly and ramen life.
You didn't have millions of dollars set aside.
No, I had no money. I literally had no money. I mean, I probably had, I probably had $10,000 in the bank. Maybe I might not have had $10,000 in the bank when we did that. Like I needed to get that revenue coming in quick to pay bills and nothing extra. We had no more money. We had nothing. Really, it was I was
all
not
in.
all in. Well, yeah, it was, yeah, thank you. Really, yeah, and I was not holding great cards. I might have been pocket deuces over here. Like I had a little book of clients that were loyal to me, I was confident would continue working with me, and 100% of them did, right? And it helped. That was part of my calculation in honoring my agreement to pay him. But
So do you mind if I ask what was the book size?
Not that big.
I mean,
in
like
hindsight, 150K, 160K.
that's it.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know how unsuccessful I was.
Okay.
Put it that way, like as of 5 years into benefits, and I think I had 160K.
Okay, hold on. Rewind. You're at this crux,
Yeah.
a fork in the road, and you have $150,000 coming in, and currently you're taking home 35%, 40% of that
I was making
as income to you.
and it had a little salary on it. I think I was making
okay.
I think I was making I was probably making about $100,000 at that time.
Okay.
So I
So
got about 160K book, and I was making about $100,000.
so your thought is, hey, I'm taking home 50% or 60% of it now. I could take home 100%. So
Yeah.
you think that maybe there's a little bit of a buffer there. Okay.
Yeah, and I hire my first employee, paying her
And that goes away.
right over $60,000. I'm paying her $60,000. I'm paying at that. I renegotiated that deal of half the commission. I renegotiated it to quarter of the commission. So I'm literally paying him 25%. Paying an employee. I mean, I went down to 35, 40 grand of income, right away. And to your point, it wasn't glamorous. Like it was we were barely out of the peanut butter jelly and ramen. We were maybe into like canned chicken, we're like,
Lunchables.
we got up to Lunchables and canned chicken at this point, and we're coming back down to ramen and peanut butter and jelly. And I think that, so the things that were the most influential factors that gave me confidence that I could do that. One was a community around me, my wife supporting me and saying, yeah, I think we could do this. I was under the illusion, maybe delusion. I was under the delusion that I had been really successful up to that point. Mm-hmm. I was like, I clearly can do this. I have a 160K book in 5 years. In hindsight, I realized I should have done that in 2, maybe one or 2. Like that's when that should have happened. But, and if you want to get into, we were talking earlier about 10X versus 2X, books more than 10X since then. I've learned what I didn't know, which was having a great service team, having some vision, having some more aptitude, and learn can go a long ways in being in the right places. When I wasn't in the right places, I was in things like BNI, or whatever, and it shouldn't have been there. But community, then I was in Provisors, which was a group of professional advisors who told me, hey, we'll help you get going. Not financially, but just, we'll give you the things you need to know. I had people who were willing to help me set up payroll, help me form my entity, and said, you could do this. You can do this. So some people saying you can do this was really helpful. And then finally, I had just had confidence that I really believed that no matter what, I was going to be okay. There wasn't a do or die in this. It was do or do something else. You make a decision. And if it doesn't work out, you make another decision. It's pretty simple in that sense. Do something. And if that doesn't work, do something else. And I think you still do that. You're running a company now. One of the most important traits of a CEO or a business owner is able to make decisions, act on it, and then be able to recalibrate and make a different decision if you need to. Like you have to be able to do that. Otherwise you will get stuck in a trench or in a rut. So I think it was confidence that was not what was going to define me either. I was going to do something. I was going to give it a real go. And thankfully it's worked out. It's been excellent. It's been really a great experience. And we're coming up on that. That was March 2016. Yeah, about to hit 9 years since then.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty great journey though. And, I think we're sort of at that place where it's time to figure out what continuing to grow looks like too, sort of re-evolving ourselves right now.
So what about people that are watching this and thinking about starting their own business? Is there any advice that you would give from your experience that would help them make the right decision?
I do believe in the power of your community. I do think you want to surround yourself with people who value your success, care about you doing well, and you likely will feel vice versa. You'll care about you'll know that because you'll care about their well-being, you'll care about their success. But people who have aptitude toward that goal, it is sort of, it's who you hang out with is a large part of who you will be.
Yeah, you hang out with 5 drug dealers, you'll probably be a drug dealer.
Pretty
you
good
hang out
chance.
with 5 billionaires,
That's right.
probably on a good track.
Yeah, I heard a story recently about, I think it was in the 10X is easier than 2X book again, him telling the story of a guy who wanted to quit smoking. One of the things he realized he had to do was give up his friends. If he wanted to quit smoking, he had to give up his friends because all his
They're all
friends smoked.
smokers.
They all smoked. It's like he won't be able to just be in that, which is a terrible thing to think about as a consequence. But I think if you want to start a business, you probably should be around people who have started a business. You probably need to be around people who at least know what it looks like to run a business. Yeah. And you're going to be able to pick their brain. I think as soon as you can get into even a peer advisory group, that's a really good step in putting you with fences around you of people that act as a fence to make sure you're not chasing shiny objects. Because that's a whole other entrepreneurial problem is squirrel hunting. Yeah. And so get around people who are going to actually help hold you accountable. And that can be done through things like Vistage and peer groups and whatever else.
Podcasts.
Or podcasts with friends. I mean, really, you could also just commit to being with some of your business owner friends and say, we're going to get together and we're asking each other hard questions, including things like, what's your business plan?
So all of my circle was all online, not like weird chat groups or anything. No. So, but it was listening to motivational speakers on YouTube. Sure. That was my circle. I didn't know anybody. Didn't know anybody that had a business. I didn't know anybody that had, picked up their life and moved. I didn't know anybody that had gone all in and succeeded. I didn't know anybody that, even on top of that, that would take time out of their day to help me. Yeah. And so I was always chasing that. And so my circle was all these motivational speakers, Eric Thomas, Les Brown, all those guys on YouTube. I would even set it as my alarm in the morning. That was the first thing I listened to is How Bad Do You Want Success by Eric Thomas every single day. I still do it to this day.
Yeah, wow.
I still do it to this day, almost north of 15 years now, every single day. That's first thing I listened to. And then when I got my jobs out here, I was still chasing that mentor, somebody to take time out of their day. And so it's not that I didn't trust them. It was just that I was consistently disappointed in people that I thought were in the golden years of their life, but they still seem to have ulterior motives and they weren't at the mentoring stage of their life. They didn't give a shit, right? I felt used, a means to an end. Like, hey, you bring in business for my company. You bring in business for my company. And I was like, man, I just want somebody to teach me something rather than I appreciate the gambling on me, taking a risk on me.
Right. But seeing you as an opportunity is sometimes that's not what you were going for.
Yeah. So that was really my crux that, all right,
I'm with
nobody's
you.
going to teach me. So
that was that frame.
I'm just going to do it myself.
That was that age, that generation. There's that generation. It's a little like so right around my dad's generation, a little younger. That I don't know what it is, but I've run into so many times this frustrating experience of like seeing me as a means to an end. And that was sort of the management group that I was like, I'm not going to go work for you. Like that's what I pushed back against. And that's obviously an overgeneralization of a generation, but I think I've had some similar experiences there.
I don't know. Okay. So let's dig into your expertise, which is?
Yeah. I work with companies that, want to be best places to work. And I put in benefit programs around health insurance, dental, vision, and then into the ancillary programs that elevate companies to being the best places to work.
Okay. So I wrote down some questions here.
Yeah.
So you are the other side of the coin from me in the insurance space. So I did property and casualty, workers' compensation, property insurance, general liability, stuff like that, right? And then I would get benefits accounts and I would just pass them off to the benefits person. So that's you in this situation. So in my experience, we're going to talk about some frustrations here, dude.
Good. Please do.
Okay, because I have really big issues with your space.
Yeah.
The number one thing is every year when our clients renew, workers' compensation comes up, I can advocate and fight and ask for, or,
Together a
push
story, a
credits.
narrative. Yeah.
And most of my clients, I would say 80 to 90% of renewals, I am able to get a reduction in rate. Now, there's other things there's X factors involved, like the market and stuff like that. But generally speaking, it is possible for me to get a decrease.
Right.
Now, every single benefits renewal that I've ever been a part of for the last 10 years. So, I mean, hundreds of renewals
Right.
at this point.
An increase.
100% of the time, it has been an increase.
Wow. Well, one reason is because I think you've mostly worked with, on the benefits, you've mostly seen under 100 life groups. However, it's still true for most large groups. You can negotiate. There are negotiations that take place on large groups, which in California is over 100 employees. I mean, a couple other unique products for under 100. But the trend in small group health insurance is always an increase quarter over quarter. It's always an increase.
Well, even large groups, I consistently across the board every year increase.
Yeah,
Well, I came in at 15%, but we were
Exactly.
able to get it down to 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's almost always that.
Same thing every single time.
Yeah. The system, and I would start by saying the system is flawed. You are functionally interacting with what I would call the middleman. The insurance company is the middleman between the care. They're just a profiteer on top of the cost of care. And so they're always going to, unless the hospital stops investing in new technologies, unless pharmaceutical companies stop putting out new expensive drugs that are more expensive and more expensive and more expensive, everything on the point of service is going up at an unsustainable clip. And the insurance company is only going to stay in business if they're making a profit on top of those rising costs. Fundamentally, that is the game. So
the root of the problem is?
There's a lot of roots. This is a forest, but it is cost of care.
So it's the doctor's fault.
It is they are not incentivized. Think about this. The medical system. Yes, I do believe that most people practicing in the medical field are working an honest job. Like, let's start there. I think most of them are working an honest job. I think they are. Hospital administrators, maybe not as much.
No, I don't trust doctors.
Okay, but they are technically, I believe, trying to do what they think is good for people's health as a general rule of thumb. Okay. I think that's true. Most doctors, I think, get into business because they think, well, they want to make a lot of money, but they want to make a lot of money feeling good about themselves, helping people. Your normal primary care physician, for instance, is not getting paid extra for the work they do. Okay, they're not getting they're not allowed to get kickbacks from places. No, anymore. Correct. They're not allowed to get kickbacks from the pharmaceutical. That's a good thing that they solved. That was bad.
Well, hold on that point. I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have more experience in this space than I do, but I know people, and a doctor went through everything that they went through to feel important. Especially people that demand that you call them doctor, or even introduce themselves as doctor.
Yeah, sure.
It's just annoying to me. Like,
because I'm not one. Only because I'm not one.
Yeah. But if you come in and there might be nothing wrong with you, they feel like they have to find something wrong for them to do their job, to feel useful.
Validated in their profession.
I have to find something wrong with you to make it seem like I'm doing my job. It's like somebody coming to you and say, hey, look at my benefits package. Do
I feel like I did anything if I tell them, oh, there's nothing wrong?
People like me and you would probably, I know I would tell them, like, hey, you're in a good spot. This is great. But most would have to feel like they find something wrong, even if it was nitpicking. And I feel like there's a component of that.
Unless they have something, I think most people in our role, in our shoes, would tell if they had nothing financial to gain from the conversation. Let's start there for a second. They had nothing financial to gain from the conversation, would give a relatively honest assessment and not feel like they need to validate their non-worth. You're not getting paid any money. If you're in a good spot, they're probably going to tell you a good spot.
So you think the incentive structure has been corrected?
No, I think the problem, that's actually where I'm going. The medical group, the doctors, nurses, hospitals, none of them are really incentivized, truly incentivized for quality of work. They're all incentivized for continuation of work. So the problem with the system is that they need you to come back and be sick to make more money. That's not a good system. This is one of my biggest things I'm just thinking about these days. One of the concepts that's on my mind a lot is, because I think the system's so broken, I'm asking the question, because I'm capitalistic. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in the private sector is better than the public sector.
Only if there isn't collusion.
Well,
collusion torpedoes any sort of,
and there's 100%
correction.
collusion between insurance and the healthcare system. And here's right now, that's my point, is that the incentive is in the wrong place. So collusion takes place. Collusion happens. The amount of fraud right now, if a medical group bills the insurance company, in lots of cases, the insurance company is not even incentivized to deal with that overcharging because it helps justify their rate increases. They can leverage the right kinds of extra payments. They're actually, and then because there's laws now under Obamacare, there's laws that the insurance carriers, Aetna, United Healthcare, Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of them, they can only make 15% overhead on large group insurance policies, and they can only make 20% on small group insurance policies. So, and any extra that they have, say they have 22% profit on their small group plans, they have to pay that 2% back to the policyholders, which costs them millions of dollars just to calculate and distribute. So they're incentivized to get up to as close to and just over that 80% spent on healthcare. So if it can literally benefit them to pay that money out, claim low profits for the quarter that justifies their increases in insurance premiums that cost all of us money. They are not incentivized for transparency. They have no incentive to tell you what they're really paying for the drugs that they're selling. They have no incentive to tell you where you could go to save money on an MRI or an X-ray, because they're not doing it. They don't do that naturally. You would think that the insurance company for sure wants you to know where you can go get the cheapest surgery, and that they will do anything they can to tell you where to get the cheap surgery.
Out on it.
That's right. But they're not, because it helps justify their rate increases where they have a limit on their profit. The name of the game is the faster they can get the premiums up, the more dollars in profit they can make. That's broken. That is not in the public's interest.
Yeah, and I feel like once the premium is up, it's not going to go back down.
Because that's revenue.
The baseline. Yeah. Well, even just like in the market, prices will not go down. They may slow. It's like inflation.
Yeah.
Like inflation, right? That, everybody as of late has been saying, well, inflation has slowed down, against the expectations of what it was. Yeah, but like the damage is already done.
We're already there.
Right? It's like you're putting on 10 pounds a month, and then 10 months down the road, you only put on 5 pounds.
But you're already 20 pounds up.
Yeah, you're already 100 pounds overweight, friend. Yeah, and that's the way
that's health
this
insurance.
Is. Same with like house prices.
Yeah.
House prices are not going to dip, generally speaking. House prices are not going to take a dive. It's just they're not going to grow as fast.
Right.
Same
they're
thing with
yeah.
medical costs. Yeah. They're not going to go back down to where they should be.
It needs
they're
a
just
full
not going to grow as fast. Right. So instead of those 8% increases, hey, we got a 1% increase or a 2% increase.
You're excited
and
about.
we're going to take that as a
fat.
win.
Yeah, but we're already fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I actually do think, and I don't know exactly what this looks like in the eventual outcome, but at some point, the health insurance space needs something somewhat cataclysmic or catastrophic to take place to create a system reset. And my personal conviction is that going Medicare for all or single payer system is the punt. That is basically all of us as like the American spirit being slayed. We're just like, it's too big. We quit. If we do it, it's because we quit.
There might be some truth to that, that it's so big, there is no fixing it.
That is possible.
Either we tear it down and there's going to be a shit ton of collateral damage,
Tons.
or you punt.
Yeah.
You concede
Yeah.
that this beast got away from us.
It's one of them, but it has to happen because we can't. I mean, our groups are seeing in the small group space these 13% increases, and things are getting uglier, like politically, medical groups not renewing with carriers and contract disputes and narrow network stuff happening. There's more network problems now than there's ever been, than I've seen in the last almost 15 years now of doing this. Never seen anything like it. It's unprecedented, like everything else. And it's clearly just not sustainable. So there does need to be some disruption. And actually that's what I'm hoping for. What I really would like to see is disruptors come in and create resets. And there are some things that are taking place that I hope materialize and actually do that, like direct primary care contracts.
There's it sees a lot of these things, though. I feel like it's shooting a BB gun at a freight train.
Yes, kind of. What you really do need, though, is you need the largest actors to come with the bazooka. You do need the bazookas and the handguns.
But it's not going to come from within.
No. It's going to be an outside disruption.
It's going to take an Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's going to take big money somewhere.
It
could get done. I do think it could get done. I do think there are actual solutions that are good for humans. That's what I think.
Alternative. Huh? There's no alternative.
Not right now.
That's the collusion part. Is that it's a monopoly. There's no alternative to do it. So somebody needs to come in with something that
disrupts.
But there's challenges to that. There's a reason costs are high, because shit is expensive.
It is.
So how do you come in and undercut everybody?
We are doing
and
things
still
too
be able to
expensively.
afford.
Because like in the U.S., drugs cost always multiples of what they cost in other countries. And on the one hand, you go, yeah, I want the FDA because I don't want everything getting into the market. But on the other side, you go, it already has such a high failure rate. Is it even doing its job? Except creating higher costs and allowing big pharma to charge millions of dollars more for a drug that a human takes than a horse takes, whatever. There's all these analogies out there.
Collusion and corruption.
It's real.
If FDA truly, did what it's designed to do, I feel like we would have better results. And you're right. We do want those safe measures in place to make sure that we're putting, safe things in our body and stuff like that. When I hear, and this kind of brings me to my next thing, vaccines. I don't want to put you on the radar of any.
Care. Put me wherever you want me.
So I have one example, and I think, I don't know anything else about other vaccines. So, but it does point to, if this is an example, I'm sure there's others, but a baby within the first, 4 days of life or a couple days of life, they get a Hep B vaccine. Now, hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, the human papilloma thing.
If the mother does not have it, you as the child will not have it. So why would a baby be vaccinated for a sexually transmitted disease in the first couple days of life? Baby's not out having sex to catch this thing. Yeah, we have to pay for it.
I don't know enough about that one, but my spidey senses say somebody's getting paid. That's all it is. Yeah,
and if that example is true, other examples are true, right? It can't be the only one. I mean, the vaccine list has jumped from 3 to 27 or 29.
Well, now we're in subscription model vaccines. Basically, every year you get another one. And
here was my challenge with it is like when my kids were born, I didn't feel like I had an option. The options were not laid out for us. It's, hey, here's what's on the list.
Smart.
They don't.
That's great business.
They don't say, do you guys want these? Do you not want these? Like, what do you guys want to do with your family and your children? Yeah. It was, here is the list.
Well, it's not that different now. I mean, the amount of shaming that you go through if you say no to a vaccine from the doctor.
That's definitely another challenge, is the shaming. But I mean, I didn't even feel like I had a choice. I didn't know that I had a choice.
Yeah.
young, dumb.
Yeah.
I had my first kid when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And even, my daughter who's 5, I wasn't, I guess, woken up to anything at that point either. And it was just, hey, here's what we're doing. I'm like,
Well,
okay, who am I to question you? You have a
people are
lab coat.
questioning now.
You have a lab coat.
Exactly. Your name is doctor.
Yeah. And so, it's definitely driven by money. I'm 100% sure of that. Maybe not all 29 of them.
No,
but
I think
20
there's a
20
pretty good situation where we're not getting polio these days. Like I'm just saying, like clearly there's good things that come through vaccination. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I am an don't need it vaxxer.
Yeah.
If you don't, and I'm certainly pro, let me make a choice about my own healthcare. I think I want that, that personal autonomy, but
you should have like information before they stick a needle in your kid, not marketing flyer.
Yeah. No. But
an
informational. But it will be marketing because the
Yeah.
only person who's going to make it is going to be the company who sells it.
That's where the corruption is.
Yeah. Well, who else is going to, that takes us down a whole other rabbit hole.
So that should be the FDA piece.
Without influence, of course.
Of course, but
a non-bot FDA.
Right. And
flyer.
so whenever you have all of these issues, like who can blame anybody not wanting to put vaccines in their kids? I sure as hell don't blame anybody. Now, I think there's probably some safe ones in there that we need.
Yeah.
Like you said, polio. I mean,
I'm glad I don't have to think about it.
Have polio,
I don't have to think about it. I have to think about every time I've gotten a rusty cut that I'm about to get lockjaw tetanus or whatever,
So, but yeah, it's really frustrating that I don't trust the people that are making those decisions. And I even question, why is the doctor so adamant that they get these? Why is the doctor so adamant about a Hep B vaccine?
I generally feel like they're fully convinced, for the record. I do believe they're fully convinced. And this is back to I'm pretty freaking cynical in general. Like I'm
pretty ignorant in general. So I could be totally off on these. I'm
cynical.
Open to somebody explaining to me all 29, here's the reason why you need this. And I haven't heard a valid reason for the Hep B one.
Well,
but it's the only one I've dug into.
Yeah. Oh, I think you could dig into more, and I think you'd find that. All I know is, I'll say this. First of all, I just want to give a quick shout out to all you Android users out there, because I finally understood the shame you feel from Apple users when I told the doctor I wasn't going to get a certain vaccine, and the doctor it's like looking at me like I was giving him green bubbles on his text messages. I was like, this is an icky feeling. So I'm so sorry to everybody who's ever been Android shamed. But yeah, I think it is, they're fully convinced that you're making a bad decision, and they think you should do it. Now, why they're fully convinced or whatever that's different. That's a little bit different conversation, and what worldview puts. And the questions that I asked left me when I asking, hey, why would I do this? Is that something, what are the outcomes if I don't? How do you know that? It was really empty. Like it did not satisfy me to think I was asking honest questions to go like, feel free to sell me this as to why I should have this. And it felt like my reasonableness made me go, I think I'm good. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
And
you gotta give me more than it's on the list.
Correct. And we think you should, but why? I need you to substantiate your treatment with evidence. That's what I want. I'm willing to be reasonable.
Well, 88% of people do it.
Yeah. And it's big business. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really big business. And so that is, and back to your question, I suppose, with Weave, is that the costs are going up. There are more treatments being done. There's more cost to those treatments, and the cost for operating a hospital is going up. I don't see it. Until we get a disruption, I don't see it trending in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Insurance has been kind of front and center of the news as of late. You got the United Healthcare CEO assassination. You got the fires in California. 2 different types of insurance. But still, insurance in general is kind of front and center. What do you have any thoughts on the United Healthcare CEO assassination? I was very torn that I hate that it takes something like this to put insurance in the news, the problem in the news. And I almost feel guilty even paying more attention to the issues because of it, because then this guy's strategy worked, you know? So I almost feel guilty about doing it. But do you have any thoughts on the United Healthcare CEO deal?
I mean, what motivated me to take a couple of days off really was right around that murder. Took a couple of days off last week to go write what's wrong with the U.S. healthcare system and what do we need to be doing to fix it. What is our part to play, both as individual consumers and for corporations, right? This message will be given to employers on the things that they can do to be part of as much of a solution as they can be part of. Because one of the disturbing sensations that came out of the murder of the UHC CEO, Brian Anderson, feel bad, I think his name was Brian Anderson, is that almost everyone's response was, that's wrong. That's terrible. That's wrong. But
Murder was wrong.
the murder. So that's terrible. That is wrong. And then followed with, but, right? The fact that everybody had that pause and said, but, I mean,
everything said before but is bullshit.
That's right. And so people are wrestling with a certain kind of tension that they're experiencing between the frustration that they feel with the system, knowing, and I'll be honest, I don't even think the deny, delay, and depose is actually that there's so much more woven into what's going on that most people honestly don't even know about. Like,
that's more true on my side than your side, maybe.
I don't think that's real. I agree. And on top of that, because I was already talking about how they'll approve bills, there are denials that happen in health insurance, and there's treatments that don't go through, and some of those games are happening, and some of that stuff is happening, without a doubt. Okay, it really is. But I think the biggest problem maybe the biggest problem in the healthcare system right now is that the United Healthcare is the largest medical group in the country. And I said they're not the largest. I'm not talking about the insurance company. They are now too. They do more revenue each year than any other insurance company in the country. But they're also the largest employer of doctors in the country now. They own Optum. Optum is buying up medical groups all over the country. And it's like the fact that there's this, what we call vertical integration, which means they own the pharmacy benefits, they own the medical groups, and they own the insurance. That is horrible for consumers. And this all came out of, and this was like a capitalistic response to regulations introduced in the Affordable Care Act. And it wasn't even being done before. Now it's being done. But anyways, so there's other parts to the whole collusion of the insurance industry and medical groups and pharmacy that are run deep in all of this. And our response is, that's wrong, but, I get it. Or I feel frustration. Whatever that piece of us as humans and as U.S. citizens was and is when we think about the murder of someone, says there's something really, really sick going on that has to be talked about and has to be addressed. That is, I think that
it's sad that it takes that.
It's
for the conversation
tragic.
to happen.
It's tragic that that's what motivates us. But furthermore, I think that people need to start with their own responsibility. And if I'm being honest, I don't think most of us are doing anything about the problem except complaining. Yeah. And there are things we need to do on our end to even earn a seat at the table to say, I have a valid complaint, as opposed to just a passive bystander whine. It's like there's whininess, and then there's bringing complaints because you're doing your part.
Okay, I want to dig into some of the details, and this is probably the area where you could teach me something. And I'll give you an example of my side of kind of a peek behind the curtain. So I worked with CEOs of insurance companies. We advocate for and audit claims. Now, I've been told from a CEO of an insurance company. Well, let's rewind. All CEOs of take all the workers' compensation carriers. 100% of the CEOs are Wall Street people. Mm-hmm. 0 are insurance people.
Yeah, right. They know how to run a business profitably.
So it's not even a business, it's the type of business, right? So none of them are insurance people. It's not about the product. It's about how to handle, distribute capital. So all insurance companies, at least in the workers' compensation space, they operate off of carried interest.
Yep.
It's how much investment income they can get, how much float they can get from holding on to a large pool of money and hold on to it as long as possible. So I've been told from CEOs of insurance companies that we want these claims to stay open forever.
Right, because they're getting interest. They're earning interest on their money in there.
The quicker we pay out, we no longer get to hold on to that money to invest. So if you give me $100 in premium, I put that to work in investments. And then a couple months into your annual policy, you have a $50 claim. Now, I can pay that $50 quick, get it over with. But now I only have $50 working in investments. But if I deny, delay, depose, and I drag that out maybe a year or 2 years, I got 2 years of $100 being invested, and then probably pay out 50, 60, or $70, which is fine because I got to hold on to the money longer. So there's an inherent conflict between the insurance company's business model, revenue making model, and their promise to the policy holders, assumed promise that we want to take care of these claims as quickly as possible, right? No. The policies that they make are how they drive this, right? You'll never hear an insurance company ever come out and say, well, yeah, of course we want, we don't want to pay out on claims for as long as possible.
Right.
None of them will ever say that. But here's what they will do. And I've seen this happen is say an adjuster or an examiner, their job is to look at a claim every 30 days. That's their policy, that they have a 30-day diary system. Now, a new CEO will come in, or they need to increase profits or whatever. They'll come in and they'll say, okay, we want to make life easier on you.
45 days.
We want a higher quality of work whenever you get to look at these things. So we are extending our diary system from 30 days to 45 days. Now that's the PR. That's the propaganda.
Internal PR, especially.
That's the propaganda that they say, right, to save face. But really what they just did is they increased their investment income by 50% because they just extended the life of these claims by 50%.
Yeah.
Right? Which I have a whole nother story about propaganda later on if we want to dig into that. The guy named Edward Bernays. You ever heard of an interesting story? But he created the phrase PR, public relations. It used to just be propaganda.
Oh, and changed it to public relations?
He changed it to public relations.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
He's the reason we eat bacon for breakfast.
I love it.
He's the reason that women smoke Virginia Slims. And most people never heard of this guy.
Yeah, right.
Anyways.
Ed Bernays?
Edward Bernays.
Okay.
He was born in 1890, and in 1921, he made bacon a staple for breakfast.
Perfect.
Because he coined the phrase expert approved. So he thought people were dumb and stupid and like sheep, which we are. And he specialized in ads or marketing or propaganda, which is now known as public relations.
I love it.
Which he also coined that phrase.
Yeah, I love it.
But anyways, they'll come in and they'll put in processes or policy like that to improve their profits. So there's an inherent conflict between insurance companies, and most people just don't know that, right? They
don't think anything about those things.
Well, what they know is what they're told.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what they're told is whatever's in the marketing flyer from these insurance companies or on their commercials or whatever. Right. I mean,
well, they hear, hey, this treatment got denied because the greedy insurance company, doesn't want to pay out. And there may be when they want to pay out, but the whole other not written in your insurance policy is that the medical, that there's this collaboration that takes place, maybe collusion, but collaboration that takes place between here's the sickness of the patient. Here's the diagnosis. We have a diagnosis. And then the medical group says, we want to do this kind of operation. They go to get it approved from the insurance company, and the insurance company goes, so we've seen this diagnosis. We have a big data pool, and we think that you could do this procedure instead, and you will not charge us $2 million. You'll charge us $1 million. And so you have to do the $1 million treatment. But the doctor's already told the patient, best treatment is this treatment over here. The patient is going to have the same out-of-pocket cost, whether it's the $1 million or the $2 million treatment. The doctor group, though, is going to get $2 million or $1 million. So the doctor group is fighting over $1 million with the insurance company over $1 million, and the patient's left not getting treated. Like, that's a whole other battle that's taking place between the two. Yes, this treatment probably would work. And so the insurance companies say, do that one. And the doctor group's going, but this is the best one. And let's just assume they have all the best motives. They're not really trying to get the extra $1 million. They are trying to get the extra $1 million and trying to do the best for the patient. And so that's what most of the denial.
Which, that's fine. I have no problem with that if you have hundreds of options.
You know,
I know, but the market will correct itself. But there will be some people that go through some shit, but the market will eventually correct itself if you have options and lack corruption and collusion.
Yeah.
But the problem is that there's 5 insurance companies. That's it.
Yeah, right. We're getting pretty skinny.
Aetna, Cigna,
Yeah,
Blue Shield, Blue Cross.
You have some little nuances
and
here,
United
like in
Healthcare,
San
right?
Diego. You got Kaiser in some places, you got Sharp in others.
But still, I mean,
Center
you got
or whatever.
5,
Yeah,
and those
big
are your
ones.
only options.
Your only national
And
players.
they're clearly colluding. Maybe not, through text message, but
maybe though. I mean,
but through
Signal,
observation
Signal or WhatsApp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Through winks.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
They're all doing better if they all charge more. And they play a little cat and mouse up at the top, but the cream keeps getting frothier.
Yeah, well, you guys took 8% of our business this year, and we'll take 10 next year, and then you take 11 next year, and we take 8 the following year, and like high tide raises all ships.
That's exactly what's happening.
Okay, is that the dirty secret in this space, or is there anything else that you can teach me? I kind of already knew that.
Yeah, I think the hardest challenge facing the healthcare system is no incentive for quality. It's all about you're incentivized for treatment, not for quality. So that in and of itself is a conflict of interest. When people are going to get services because they believe they need to be fixed so that they don't need the services anymore, the medical group and frankly, at the end of the day, the insurance companies, they all make more money if you are being continually treated, are getting more prescriptions, if you're having a new diagnosis. And I think that there's the more things we can label under, and I'm not an ADHD expert. This is going to get me in trouble somewhere, I'm sure, with someone. But ADHD now all of a sudden like covers everything. Like everything falls on everything that anyone does that's like out of societal norm is now labeled ADHD in some pretty big umbrella stuff. And then you can treat it with drugs. And you can treat it with therapy. You can treat it with this and treat it with that. It's now a diagnosis that needs intervention from physicians of the Great West I just think it's going to be the new fat. It's going to be the new fat in the system. Just a new way to diagnose new meds, new therapies that are outrageously expensive and are going to jack up prices again. The problem at the end of the day is that there's not incentive for cure. There's incentive for sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the only way to fix it, the only obvious way, and I'm not a socialist by any means, but
you play one on TV.
A moral authority to come in. And I think that that's where government is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not a big fan of regulation, but when there's collusion and corruption, there is no other option because you can't exactly weed that out unless a moral authority with resources. Yeah. Somebody with morals and somebody with something with morals and resources. And that's why I threw out the example, Elon Musk. I feel like he means well. I don't know if he does, but I feel like he means well. And with a lot of the stuff that he's doing.
If you don't like him, take Mark Cuban. Whatever, pick one.
Mark Cuban.
Pick one. I don't care.
Price cost drugs or whatever.
Warren Buffett. Pick someone.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But somebody with resources to come in to, and the government has resources as well. So it has to be something or someone with resources and a moral authority or obligation, or at least moral compass of, hey, I'm not in it for the money. I already have enough money. Or I'm the government and, hey, we're not in it
for any money.
They have too much. But somebody that has passed that phase of their life to where, hey, I'm doing this as a philanthropic type of endeavor rather than, or I'm doing it even for legacy. I'm okay with that. Do it for legacy.
Sure, totally.
What you're known for the next, 500 years that you saved America.
From itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do think that that's the top player that needs to happen. There needs to be a top that's has to be something that takes place. And it may be regulation tied to medical pricing structure, but then they got to fix that. But there are going to be things that can be done. Fortunately, the ACA, which was meant to make it the Affordable Care Act, they rebranded as the Accessible Care Act, actually, a few years back. Yeah, dead serious. You can look it up. It's a real thing. It's rebranded. It was rewired. It clearly was not the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
It's the Patient Protection and Accessible Care Act instead of Affordable Care, because it made everything more expensive. When you mandate more coverage, it's more expensive. When you limit profit to a percentage in any given year, you just incentivize higher premiums. It worked against, and then they actually, again, this is where the vertical integration with the insurance companies owning the medical groups and the pharmaceuticals, the insurance company reports their earnings every year as a publicly traded company. They have to report earnings and profits. And of course, they do that in such a manner that they're trying to give out dividends to their shareholders and show earnings so that they get more investors and show financial strength to get more investors. They're using all their profits and to UHC, for instance, earned $14 billion in 2024, roughly $14 billion of profits, which is only 3% of their revenue. It's not even astronomical percentage, but it's astronomical dollars for one company. $14 billion in profits. They buy up medical groups, and what they're doing is they're literally just paying the medical groups their profits. They're laundering. That's 100% laundering scam. And they don't report their earnings at the medical groups, so they can make all that money. They are making all that money. They're making all that money in the pharma and in the pharmaceutical distribution channel and in their medical groups, and don't have to report on any of that. And basically the pig gets fat is what it is. And that's not just UHC. Those are the numbers from UHC. All of them are doing it. Cigna's doing it. Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield's doing it. Aetna, CVS owns Aetna. I mean, the pharma bought the insurance company. In that case, the pharmaceutical distributor bought them. And the reason is because, we can just shove profits into CVS then. And that was so poorly managed, it's having trouble. But that was a leadership issue more than a concept. It actually inspired everyone else to do it. And others are doing it better than CVS did. But
that's the juicy stuff I like to know.
Yeah.
Money laundering scheme.
But yeah, it is. It's sophisticated money laundering. Legal money laundering is through vertical integration.
Okay, and so if government came in and said, nope, no more of that, would that fix things? Or because on the surface, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, is, hey, if I'm an insurance company, hey, this is going to make things quicker. It's going to make things more efficient. I don't have to fight with doctors anymore. We own the doctor medical groups. We don't have to fight with pharmacies. We're all in the same system. So it's going to make that you're going to be able to get your stuff immediately. Just walk down to the pharmacy rather than waiting, going home for a few hours, then coming back later tonight to get your stuff. So is there an efficiency that they're pushing or selling?
I think at this point, experientially, it's pretty clear that they're in a position to leverage themselves into higher revenue and more profit. The problem is they have so much money that they're able to lobby against any of that is a big problem. Lobbying is certainly a problem, and influence over the government is a real problem. If there was an honest look and moral backbone behind this, I do believe that regulation of that would be wise. I also have wondered, and I think one of the problems is that they're allowed to be publicly traded. And I don't think that pharmaceutical companies should be advertising on TV. I don't even think that pharma should be public. I don't think it should be IPOs.
We're only one of two countries that allow it.
I don't think they should.
Us in New Zealand.
Yeah, and in New Zealand, we know what it'll lead to if you just look at, I don't know, New Zealand's probably doing fine. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, that should not be happening. And so I think that we've overdone the free market in an area that needs some balance more than most.
I do agree that they should not be allowed to go public. because there's where the conflict ensues is, as a public company, what is your number one obligation?
To your shareholders.
To shareholders,
That's
not
right.
to the customers,
patients, which is
or
a
patients.
healthcare. It's a healthcare. I think because it's healthcare related.
Dude, that might be a good fix. That
Well,
right
I think
there.
it's a big part, but I don't think it's the only one. But I do think it's a really big, because still profits exist. But I think that there's a conflict of interest between the insurance company would argue they're not a healthcare company, right? So that's why the medical groups are not allowed to be public. They're not public. That's why you don't have to report their earnings.
Oh.
See the problem? So
Yeah.
the insurance company, but I do think that insurance companies, I do believe that regulation that would be wise with them not being allowed to, because they're too close to it. They are just profiteers on the medical system. So they don't exist without the medical system, right? They don't have a business without the medical system. So it's hard for me to say that they should be able to be public traded. Not gonna lie, I mean, I almost wonder, I hate to say it this way, but like, I think that if you get all the way into like, we have a problem with medical device pricing. It's crazy, because all those companies are publicly traded companies and they have to jack up prices, resell stuff that we have a machine that works, but there's one that works 3% faster. So they're going to sell it for millions and millions of dollars. And if you're the hospital that doesn't have the new machine, you're outdated.
So if you are a law firm, there's only certain types of companies you can be, like an LLP.
Oh, yeah. You're limited on your formation, your
Right.
entity formation. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it would help if, regulators said that, hey, these types of companies can't be public? I guess they already do with medical stuff.
It already exists. You can prohibit that. I do think, though, what that should extend beyond the medical groups themselves into pharma, medical device, insurance. And I think you almost have to, it's kind of like doing business with government contractors. Like there's limitations once you're interacting with government defense contractors. Like you have certain regulations and pro formas you have to do. You have to show certain financial things, like have certain kinds of insurance. There are regulations that exist if you're going to interact with the defense of the United States of America, right? I think that if you're going to work with the healthcare industry, then there should be certain regulation that says, yeah, you can make money. That's okay. But you can't have, there's an inherent conflict of interest between shareholders and outcomes. And I think that you could still have really vibrant businesses that aren't preying on the public. Because I think that at the end of the day, that is what's happening, is the public's being preyed on. And that's part of the problem. And I really do want us not to punt. And I don't think that that's just because I'm in the industry. I think that that's primarily because I have a family with 5 kids. I pay $30,000 a year for my health insurance. It's not sustainable. And for most people, it's crippling.
It's the number one reason for bankruptcy.
Medical expenses, medical bills. Hey, that one surprises. I'll be honest, that is weird to me. And the only reason I say that is because there is nobody, and there are people who you could probably argue, shouldn't have access to health insurance in this country. Everyone has access to insurance. Everyone can get approved for insurance today. Everyone could get approved for insurance prior to Obama. There was a pathway to insurance for every citizen of the United States of America before. And it also used to be way cheaper back then. We used to think it was expensive. We knew nothing. It's so much more expensive now. But I've always wondered that. I've always struggled to understand how that happens. But
well, I mean,
$9,000 is your biggest, out-of-pocket expense if you're on like a bronze plan or a, health insurance. Like your worst case scenario is $9,000. Unless you decide to get treatment that isn't covered by your plan, maybe if there's a denial of some sort.
So I think that here is the looking at this objectively. And if you peel back the layers or boil things down, that insurance is a socialist, concept.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And to treat a socialist concept in a capitalist
environment,
with capitalist
ecosystem
management kind of makes the whole thing toxic. You know what I mean? It's chemicals that should not mix. I'm not necessarily for, healthcare for all or, all that stuff, but
I don't want socialism in my government either though. So,
right.
I mean,
Well, let's isolate it. I'm trying to insulate it from all the other things that communism could tear down everything we built. Let's look at this one topic, and that insurance is a pooled resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
And they don't make money on the people that have claims. They make money on the people that don't have claims. Right? And so in the spirit of that, the people that don't have claims are paying for the medical care of people that do have claims. And to go off course and take it into a capitalist marketplace and management of a social program like that, social idea, that might be where it goes off course. Now, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate, and it hurts to even say out loud sometimes, because you don't want the slippery slope of saying, yeah, I mean, Medicare for all is the answer. It is. I hate everything else about communism, but
I like
or
this one.
socialism, but otherwise we need to rethink insurance.
Yeah.
Everybody for themselves. Everybody self-insure. Nobody wants to do that.
The problem is, I do think that the reason why that doesn't work and why that doesn't pan out. So if you look at virtually any system that currently has a government healthcare system, because you have to have a government-run healthcare system,
Which is every developed country in the world other than a handful,
that have
including
gone
us.
that. You mean that have gone that route?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to know where the worst care is, you go to the government hospitals.
Okay, but we've already established that our incentives is not for quality of care.
Well, it gets worse. I mean, it still gets worse. So on the phone this morning with my buddy who's in Thailand. Okay, he's at Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's between it and Bangkok. Those are the two big Thai cities, right? So it's pretty developed and affluent in Thai standards. They have the public healthcare system. Literally, everyone knows, like, when you go, you bring a lawn chair.
Yeah.
And when they tell you to wipe yourself with something, they're assuming you brought wipes to wipe yourself. They don't have supplies for you. There's nothing for you, even for basic care. Okay, he's telling me this morning. He's like, but you go and you get private insurance to go to the private places. So you still, even for him, living in Thailand, he has over 10% of his income going to healthcare everyone. At the end of the day, because you do private, you do some combination, but the bad care is the public system. I was up in Canada over the summer mountain biking, and I was talking to this guy that I met at Whistler, and he had a migraine, some crazy migraines. And he was telling me that he went to the free healthcare, the government healthcare, and they said, yeah, we can get you an MRI in 12 months. 12 months. I'm dead serious. I promise you. 12 months. First MRI for this guy.
Okay.
Chronic headaches. If he wants an MRI, he has to wait 12 months, or he can go to a private system and pay $1,200 out of pocket. Those were his options.
Okay. Well, are we meddling two different things? Is it the concept, or is it just simple inefficiencies that we need to correct without changing the fact that it is provided by the government? We just need to find efficiency. We need to make the process better. This is new. We need to make it better, not go back to totally
But I think
private.
they're all getting worse. Like if you look at the UK NHS, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And so I don't think this is why I think going public with your healthcare system and public with your health insurance system, model is punting. And it's just saying
Public as in
government run,
government ran.
correct. Government owned, government run, government oversight, government regulated, government everything. I don't believe that the government will do it better based on observations anecdotally, and the evidence says that it's not better for the people that this takes place.
So, but couldn't you do some math? Let's say somebody does a report.
Yeah.
Elon, if you're watching,
We need you.
Write this down. Somebody do a report and look at these numbers and say, okay, all the doctors in the country that deal with occupational therapy, primary care, basically anything other than cosmetic type stuff,
Okay.
Necessary stuff, labor, OBGYN, like all that stuff. And you add up, hey, here is what they make. and we'll adjust for inflation, 2%, 3% a year, whatever. And this is what they make. And then back into a tax that makes sense for that. Say it's an additional 3 points, 3 points on your taxes, and everybody is covered. 3% of your entire income goes towards your stuff rather than 10%.
Yeah.
3% of everybody. Now, some are going to be paying more than others, but that's the way it is. 3 points. And that would cover the costs of the doctors, the facilities, the pharmacy, all of that stuff. And say, hey, and this is what we pay doctors or people that create pharmaceuticals. So you can't raise your prices. We're not giving you any more. This is what we're giving you. And a medical device, this is what we're giving you. This was our baseline, 3% increase a year. That's the way it is. So, and that way they can't increase their prices.
But what's your incentive suddenly? I mean, a couple of things. One, like when you draft that, you put it on paper and you put it out. At first, you're like, if you got everybody to sign off on it, it seems inevitably only a matter of time before you stale on what you're putting into that system, and it gets worse. There's no incentive to beautify your facilities. There's no incentive for progress in technology, progress in pharma. There's no incentive for, frankly, even other doctors to come to your country and work here. Like, we do pretty well. We take all of Canada's best doctors. They come here because they make more money. The doctors there, they have no incentive to work harder. In fact, a buddy of mine who's an architect, all the doctors he knows work 3 days a week. Now, great quality of life, but they can't make any more money if they work more. They just work, so they get the government salary that you're just talking about. This is the government salary to a doctor. They get that in 3 days and they're done. They don't work anymore.
They'll lose the top talent and producers.
Yeah. So we are an entrepreneurial society who believes in innovation, and this would totally stymie innovation and drawing top talent. Atlas Shrugged.
Have you ever read that?
No, I need to. I know.
So, number one book, if I had to pick one book for anybody to read other than the BIBLE,
that's the book for you? Okay.
It would be Atlas Shrugged.
Wow.
It teaches you about producers and consumers.
Wow. Okay. That's my next book.
So essentially, all these producers are making all these innovations and blah, blah, blah. The government's kicking in saying, well, you're making too much money. We need you to give us your steel for free, your trains for free, all this stuff. And the producers are like, no. So they battle for a little bit. And then the producers are like, or the government wins. Yep. And the producers are like, fine. Right. And they disappear. And they leave, and they all go to this like island, secret island. Yeah. All the Elon Musk and Zuckerbergs and all of them. Warren Buffett's, they all leave. And it's kind of like California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's a real thing.
Everybody leaves and everything goes to shit.
And nobody has any home defense anymore because all the guns are in Idaho.
Yeah. Well, but you're left with nothing but consumers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nobody's producing anything anymore.
Yeah.
And then the government has to be the ones producing it. And it's not.
And I think that's Canada.
Not as good.
The U.S. is taking all their producers. And so I don't want that for our country. So that's why I think that, again, it's punting. It's saying I don't want to fight the problem anymore by creating another problem, but you're at least just going like, give up. I quit. And so I think that there is a spirit of America solution. It's just going to take the whole village. It's going to take, on top of that, it's going to take some chiefs, chiefs or chiefesses to come in and to go like, we're going to be part of, whether it's legacy building. I'm sure there's a way to make money in doing it too. Yeah. I'm sure people who know how to make $500 billion will figure out a way to make some money by building a legacy here, but it's going to take some real attention. And hopefully it's not something like the murder of a CEO to get us there. But that does need to, I really think that every single individual needs to own the fact that their response was probably something like some variation of, that's really terrible, but. The fact that we all said but in our hearts in response to that means you have action you need to take toward the healing.
Yeah. And both can be true. It was absolutely horrible and shouldn't have happened. And, not but and there is a major issue.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always had this complaint that it's pure pricing, pure costs. to me. I don't have a problem with quality of care.
It's there though.
You know,
Other people do.
the corruption, the collusion, and the cost. CCC. Those are the 3 C's that are really kneecapping people, business owners, and the patients.
Why? And one reason why, and
It's a society at large.
one reason I think every person should also care about this is that the cost that, and this is for employees. You probably don't realize this, but your employer's not giving you the raise that you want because they're paying the insurance company more money this year.
Yeah.
The pool of money to give to people for their livelihood and well-being is being sucked up by the insurance companies. But I do think that there's also there's a huge quality of care issue that a lot of people deal with, not healthy people typically, but.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. And anybody watching this that is not a business owner, understand this. Say you make $70,000 a year. You cost much more than that
To the business.
to the business. So we have to pay you $70,000. Then we have to pay a 7.65% FICA tax on that money. So let's just round it out to 10%. So now your 70,000 is now turned into 77,000. And then there's about another 13%, give or take, if you have insurance, if you have 401k, if you have any sort of expenses like gas reimbursement, mileage reimbursement, or some sort of, anything.
Cell phone, work from home stipends,
There you go.
meals, entertainment.
Yeah, I don't know who pays to stay from home.
They must have a great culture at that
So
company.
it's roughly 20 to 22% more
Easy.
than your salary. Not to mention the time, the energy that isn't calculated, isn't quantitative.
Factored into you can't put it on a pay stub.
Yeah. So your 70,000 really costs about 85,000.
Can cost
and
up to
some
100.
change
You can
or
get close to
more.
100 depending on your industry for work comp costs and vehicle
Right.
or.
And then, when, you go to your boss and you want to raise a $5,000 raise, $2,000 raise, or whatever, from 70,000 to 75,000, anyways, it's just know that you cost more than whatever your salary is.
Yeah. And you're worth more to the business than the salary they're giving you. And every business owner takes on additional expenses. The fact that work comp is in a hard market in some ways right now.
Workers' compensation.
Property insurance rates are going way up. Most people don't know that the money that I would much rather give my employees more money than give the insurance companies more money. I want to.
Yeah, I don't mind that they cost 85,000.
Right.
My challenge is that 15 of that goes to the government.
Correct.
And only 70 goes to the employee.
Yeah.
I would rather pay the employee
That's right.
85,000.
That's right. Yeah, and I don't want to we are all dealing with rising costs the way that everybody is at home with groceries and, internet and everything else that's going up in cost. Businesses are dealing with in all these other unseen segments that are making it harder to give our employees better pay raises, more profit sharing, whatever that is, or bonuses. Like it's all getting dipped into, and it's not, it's not.
Which makes businesses look bad.
That's right.
And makes the government feel like they need to step in with more regulation. Like it's an ugly, vicious cycle.
It absolutely is.
To where, we need to increase minimum wage. We need to add another tax. We need to, add a 2% tax here, a 1% tax here to make up for these evil business owners that we've been, crushing.
Dude, it's silly. Like you go out to a meal now, and if you eat out to entertain a client or try to get a client or to take your employees out for a lunch, dude, it means $100 a head. It seems like just to go to a restaurant.
And since the new tax change in 2017 or 2016, which I am not a huge fan of a lot of aspects of it, you can only write off 50%.
Only half of it.
Of that.
Yeah, because the assumption is that I don't get the write-off for me. I only get the write-off for the marketing to you.
Right. So the other half of that $100 per head comes out of the business owner's
Taxes
pocket.
at the end of the year.
Yeah, you have to pay as if, say the bill is $1,000. 500 of that counts as income towards you. And you have to pay taxes on that, say 30%, 35%, 40%. of that $500. So now that $1,000 meal really costs you $1,300 or $1,400.
It's worse than, it's worse than almost any other kind of expenditure. Is like that other half of a meal.
Yeah, meals and entertainment.
Yeah.
So it's tough to wine and dine and go do nice things. And, as a small business owner, maybe United Healthcare and, these other Aetnas and other world can spare that because they're bringing in 15 billion in profit. But, the environment for small business owners is extremely frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Extremely frustrating. Like to the point to where, okay, I don't want any employees. I don't want any employees, and it's not the employee's fault.
Right. Yeah, it's the
And
burdens.
that's what's sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have two more questions real quick. One is, walk me through, and you can be as brief as you want, but walk me through a basic strategy for, implementing benefits for your company, or maybe you already have it. Here's just basic things to know when it comes to renewing your insurance, and then walk me through a more sophisticated strategy.
Look, I think the basic work that an employer should be doing is you need to look at the rates of the other options out there. You look at medical insurance and you just say, what's competitive for what we have. But that's a conversation, and that's what you're going to do. Medical, you're going to do dental, vision, life, disability, whatever. Changing carriers is the absolute, it's so hard for your employees. If you can avoid it, sometimes it's better just to spend more money than to make these changes every year. So you really shouldn't be chasing a nickel. You're usually stepping over company culture dollars and maybe even other real dollars in time spent by your administration, all that stuff, just to change carriers. So get in a good place and run with it. The bare minimum is finding out whether or not you're actually meeting the needs of your employees, doing an employee survey, asking questions about whether or not they can see the doctors they want, whether or not they feel like their benefits are serving them well, if there's anything that they wish was different. That's bare minimum. But that's, if I'm being honest, and this is what most companies do, it's even what most of my clients are doing, is just the cycle every year of looking at it, evaluating, asking questions, trying to figure out whether or not they can take on the increase and juggle that with the budget and sort of managing that every year.
That's absolutely 99% of people. Correct. Is that, hey, this is something I need to manage.
It's like a necessary
it's not a tool that is utilized in a positive manner. It is an expense that I'm required to do, and I just need to manage it so it doesn't, bankrupt us.
Yeah, and so that it doesn't make us look bad, and so that I look good when I go to hire people.
Exactly.
Okay, that's I'm going to call that the base. I'm going to give you a middle and a premier too. The middle people are doing some level of, throughout the year, they've got somebody on their team, whether using their broker or some combination thereof, helping employees know that they have benefits, reminding them that they have an employee assistance program with mental health benefits, reminding them that they get discounts, that they use mail order prescription drugs, doing something that says, hey, we invest tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into this, and you should be using it even when you're not sick. But also when you get sick, make sure you know these things ahead of time so that you don't make bad decisions. It might save you some money down the road. You might go to urgent care instead of the emergency room, and it could save you a couple $100 or a couple $1,000. If you go to emergency room when you could have gone to urgent care, it's going to cost you much money. So they're proactive in education. And I think that education is really what takes you from managing a necessary evil to leveraging an expense. It is an expense, but leveraging a line item in your budget for the overall well-being of your people. And they see that you are collaborating with them to get the most out of this form of compensation, and they actually value
making the most out of it.
When they value the compensation you're giving them. Like they go, oh yeah, this costs you money. Oh yeah, you provide this. Oh yeah, I have this at work. And so I'm valuing what you're giving.
I think that there's a level of communication in that too, like how you frame it.
Oh yeah, that is good PR.
Good
propaganda,
PR,
good
right?
propaganda,
internal propaganda.
Totally.
I mean, it doesn't make it false.
No,
just
not at all.
Make sure that they know that you are going out of your way to do this for them, right? Like if
you have to tell
the
them.
Forest,
yeah,
and nobody's around to hear
That's
it.
Right.
It doesn't make a noise.
Like,
it happens.
Yeah, I don't want to say it this way exactly, but I know, for instance, I've been married to my wife for 15 years. Like on paper, clearly I love her. I go home to her, like I provide, I work, I care for our kids.
You announce when you take out the trash, right?
100%. Babe, you gonna do this? No, I got it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. She gets home. Just so you know, I took out.
I did. I also, I don't know
Right.
if you saw that obscure cleaning I did.
Yeah,
Like
make sure they know.
I cleaned that toothpaste mark off the counter. I just wanted you to know that, babe. Because, and this is actually what matters, not that I did that, but that I say, because I love you. Because you do have to still say, I love you, for them to be reminded that even though you're acting in this way, you need to remind them that you love them. Okay.
Same thing with your employees.
Same thing with your employees. And that's when it comes to the benefits. Just continuing to pay the premium every month silently for them doesn't communicate to them that you love them the way you think it does. That you care about them, value them, that you're invested in their well-being, telling them that you're invested in their well-being, telling them you care that they're healthy, telling them that you want them to be in a good spot when their kid gets sick. You want them to remember to download the app so that they can find the emergency room. Telling them what it costs you, even in a total compensation statement or something. That's that mid-tier. That's when you've really moved yourself into doing more with what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, us as a company, we have invested in better benefits, like stuff like
Here's
that.
how you get to the gym for $25 a month. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Here's how you get your $300, wellness dollars so that you can go to yoga class. And you're like, sick. My company got me this $300. You had access to it, but until your employer told you, you didn't know you had access to it.
You should put together like a cheat sheet of that.
Okay. I like it.
Or like a glossy marketing thing.
Yeah.
Say, here's a great way to make the most out of a line item or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably your
I need to
second
do that
largest line item.
Yeah, it usually is. Second or third.
Behind payroll or
in your
inventory.
Top 3. Maybe rent if you're in a big facility or something, but even then you're probably paying more in benefits after payroll. Payroll's number one for everyone. But really, really the most sophisticated clients that we have, the companies that are honestly the most fun to work with, I love all of them, but I like them differently. Kind of like my children. So the companies that are getting the most out of their benefits are getting away from the traditional model entirely. They're looking at least level funded insurance, which is just a way to get money back if your employees are healthy. So you change the paradigm internally at your company from technically doesn't change your premiums each year if your employees are sick, if you're a small group especially, but it doesn't change a lot. If you're in the fully insured market, you pay the money to the insurance company, they take your money. And if your employees are healthy, which usually they are, if your employees are healthy, the insurance company makes a profit, $14.3 billion. That's theirs. If you move into an arrangement where you have some skin in the game and you have a reason to have healthy employees, and now you're doing your benefits at your company around wellness and well-being and preventative care and managing chronic conditions and giving people room to get healthy as quick as possible, you do know intrinsically and extrinsically that healthy employees are more productive in your business. You know that healthy employees are at work, for instance. And then B, if you're incentivized in their wellness because you get money back at the end of the year, that changes the game. If you save money on having healthy employees, it changes your entire ecosystem.
Well, here's all right, devil's advocate.
And that's getting into level funded or self-insured policies or captive arrangements. When you have skin that you can in the game, you as an employer, you change your whole ecosystem.
Okay, here's my argument.
Okay. For or against?
Against.
Okay.
The sniffy noses
Yeah.
and the ER visits, of your kid, breathing treatments, stuff like that. That's not the stuff that torpedoes your profitability as an account. It's the major stuff that has nothing to do with wellness, car accidents, or cancer, or
but that's tied to things like smoking and smoking cessation.
Not colon cancer,
not
pancreatic
all cancers.
cancer,
not all
not
cancers.
Skin cancer, not
But hold on,
any of that stuff.
But
Yeah,
healthy people are less like there are lots of cancers and lots of heart conditions and lots of chronic conditions like diabetes, not all diabetes, but diabetes and kidney failure that are tied to health.
Man, I got an uncle that drank a 24-pack of Budweiser and smoked an entire carton of cigarettes every single day for decades and lived to be 100 years old.
Okay.
And I know
other
people that, a lady gets breast cancer and she dies at 35. Right. So I guess my point is not, is wellness good or not? Of course it is. But as far as the money goes, the wellness thing. Hey, we're gonna start a
Stepathons.
stepathons
No.
and
I'm
biggest
not talking
loser
about that. I'm
competition
not
and
talking
stuff
about
like that.
that.
That's not gonna save your
Those are fun.
premium.
Those don't save you money. There's very little data to suggest that there's a good ROI on wellness programs like stepathons.
Well, I think it does over 50 years, but you have to have the law of large numbers.
Right.
If you look at it on an annual basis from year to year, one bad thing could totally screw you.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
one biking accident
Hey,
could
it's
really
too
mess
close.
you up if you break a collarbone and
100
mess
grand.
up your face.
2024, dude. Hey, my face is fine, but I was a 100 grand man in 2024 thanks to mountain biking.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So,
made the system a lot of money.
well, it's I guess that's my argument is that is there a ceiling on what you could cost if you do
Yes.
level funded? So you
Yes.
are
There's
capped at
caps
the
on.
damage.
Correct. I don't think most
There's also probably caps on
outside
what
of Walmart.
what you get back.
Outside of Walmart, well, the level funding is a split on what you get back. Self-insured programs, though, you put money in the claims, you get all of it back. And you probably most self-insured companies need to have 150 employees. I mean, you've got to be pushing 150 and have pretty good benefit. But the programs now, and there's still insurance that exists in there. Most companies will still put some insurance in to limit their risk.
Sure.
But the math says you only do it if the math says probably, and this is back to like what I was talking about earlier with, I don't go with my gut in poker. I go with the math in poker. That's why health insurance is sophisticated gambling. It's the same thing. You're just saying the math says that over the course of 10 years, you're going to have one outlier in 10 years where it's like, well, that year wasn't great, but the other 9 were great.
That was my point. The big
That's right.
law of large numbers.
Yeah, you can't do this with
You can
12
win.
employees.
So I think that is probably the advice for maybe people that are more sophisticated is stop looking at it as a annual expense.
Correct.
Look at it as a
Long-term.
10-year
Play the long-term
plan, a
game.
5-year plan
Yeah.
rather than a 1-year renewal.
Here's a dual like impact though of when you are an organization and you're large enough to have self-insurance, and there's baby steps. I'm saying level funded is a baby step to self-insured to prove the concept for yourself, like a proof of concept. Then you go to self-insurance. But when you're self-insured and you're doing it right, which means you are communicating how employees can be as well as possible, you not only over the long term are creating savings in claims, okay, mitigating chronic conditions and saving money, real like hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have clients that have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in short periods of time in level funded and self-insured programs. You're also getting the internal branding, the propaganda of an organization that clearly is making an effort for people to be well. And no one in your organization is like, they're just always trying to get me to be healthy. They really care about my longevity of life and my quality of life. These jerks. Like that said nobody ever.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
if they do, they're not at your company. They don't want to be there.
Okay, so when should companies start thinking about level funding?
40 or more, especially, and I think
40 or more employees?
40 or more employees.
Participating employees.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's interesting. Okay.
40 or more, you could dabble in. There's 3 different options right now for like really easy options for level funding. You should have, you're typically a little bit more PPO oriented. Okay. And there's a whole other, we're not going to go there. Maybe we don't go there today, but like why right now more than ever, PPOs are becoming more important to people than ever before in terms of in contrast with HMOs. But
I'm still not even quite sure about what the difference is.
it's hard. I could teach you something new.
I think it's dumb that there are 2 different things.
Yeah, I get it. I get why they are, but we're getting farther away from HMO, getting closer to PPO because the HMO experiment is falling apart.
So 40 employees,
40 to level funded.
What
If you're
about
primarily PPO, or if you have employees around the country, which is happening more and more, people are employing nationwide. So they are PPO. They're utilizing PPO if they're nationwide, and those companies have a real opportunity with level.
and what about self-insure?
Usually at least 100, and usually 150 or more, and then you can.
Then the math starts to make sense.
With the maths. Yeah. And then you put in programs that are all around pricing transparency. You can do some really creative direct primary care contracts. You can literally contract with local doctor's offices to be your company's doctor's office, for basic care. And it's huge savings.
Yeah. So my approach on workers' compensation has always been to use the insurance company rather than rely on the insurance company. So to do that, you have to claw back as much control as possible.
That's self-insurance. Same thing. You're clawing back control.
Yeah. Even if it's just a little bit and you kind of split it.
But it's real money. Or like real money, from work comp too. You do right. You do the right things in the work comp arena, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings.
I just did a report for one of our accounts, my very first account I ever got. Cool. And it's north of $8.5 million over the last 9 years.
Yeah. It's incredible. I love it. I love it. So one of my first client that had some form of self-insurance, and this is like the element, this is something that smaller companies can do, 20 employees, 15 employees. It's called a health reimbursement arrangement. And you put in a high deductible, fully insured plan. So like a bronze plan. And then you layer on this reimbursement arrangement, this church, 12, 13 employees. They've been doing this for over a decade now with me. Probably 12 years. The last time we did the math a couple years ago was over $400,000 in savings to this little church. $400,000 in savings, and their employees have 100% benefit for the first $3,000 of expense. Most of their employees at the church have never had an out-of-pocket cost because the company pays the first $3,000 for an individual, $6,000 for a family, and then covers the premium because the premium's cheap because it's a bronze plan. And they've saved over $400,000 compared to having a comparable fully insured plan. Like they were,
otherwise you got to pay 50%.
They buy a platinum plan. They got to buy a platinum
50%,
plan.
and so you're paying $12,000.
The employees have saved. The employees have saved a ton of money. The church has saved a ton of money. And you go, is like self-insurance 101 is actually HRAs, and it's great.
What is an HRA?
Health reimbursement arrangement. So you basically have a high deductible on your plan, $6,000, $7,000. And the organization doesn't have to be a church. The business pays some portion of that,
and then the
in
employees
claims, and then they have an administrator.
Little window,
whatever difference it is. There's lots of ways to structure it. In this case, they just pay 100% of the first $3,000 of expenses because it's the easiest to administer. When you start making employees have co-pays for things, which then you kind of run into a lot more headaches of administration. But whatever. There are ways for small companies to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, even with 10 to 15 employees over time.
All right. So you said you took a couple of days off and rethink or write some stuff. What'd you come up with?
I mean, a lot of what we talked about today, which is just the diagnosing some of the biggest issues in the industry, why people are upset, why we're all in the situation we're in, and not really getting into all the nuts and bolts of the historicity of it or historical components to how we got here, but saying this is what's going on. And
rather than pointing fingers of why
it doesn't help. No, but I do think I do think people need to know, didn't know that people don't know about vertical integration. People don't know about the collusion. They don't understand the conflict of interest.
But you're not looking to prosecute anybody. You're just looking to make change.
So those are the things that most of us need to be aware about because it helps us understand politics, policies, how you vote, how you think when you vote, it just really quick, like in California, in our last election cycle, we approved Prop 35, which was a 2.4% tax on the insurance companies to help subsidize Medi-Cal. Okay, free healthcare in California. California's government-run system that's taken over by California. It's a Medicaid federal program that's run by California for Californians. We subsidized that system with a 2.3% tax on the insurance companies, and it passed with relatively flying colors. And everybody's like, we got them. We got the insurance company to pay 2.3% more to subsidize. And you forget, this is the naivete of most consumers. They gave me a pay raise when they did it. I voted against it because I don't want the private sector to be subsidizing the public sector here. And the private sector, insurance companies, are just going to raise my premium 2.3%.
At least.
That's all that's going to,
plus
15 and 20%. They're just going to, you're going to pay more in premiums, and you don't realize that's what you think you're getting the insurance company. They only exist to make a profit on their product, which is the cost of care, which is now 2.3% locked in at 2.3% more ongoing.
Yeah, a lot of people don't look downstream.
They just think they got the company, but they don't realize they actually shot their own foot.
Yeah. Where does the company get money?
From us. And so that kind of knowledge is power. So if you understand certain things, it might help you when you're hearing conversations that are going to come up because they unfortunately got started due to really tragic scenario here with I think it's Brian Anderson.
But what should have happened is we are going to find 2.3% of government programs that we can cut to fund Medi-Cal.
That's what should have happened.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah.
And
Or found a way to cut those costs.
The $7.8 billion that we set aside for the water reservoirs that we were going to build, but never built any of them. Not a single one. Where's it at?
That
was back in 2015.
It went to the schools.
Back in 2015.
It went to the kids, Zach, for the children. Yeah. So
that's what should have happened.
I want people to have knowledge. I want people to understand the problem. I went away to write how business owners and employees, consumers need to change their behaviors and take their own ownership. And you need to, and I'll even little things like don't pay your first bill. When you get a medical bill that comes from a provider, assume it's wrong. 25% of the bills that show up at your door are wrong. They actually have something in there that shouldn't be in there. 25. So don't assume it's right.
Deliberate at that point.
Well, absolutely. I mean, no, it's all an accident. When you call them, if you call on every bill you get, 1 out of 4 bills that come to your house, if you call them and say, hey, I don't think this is right. Can we look at this together on an itemized basis? It sucks that you have to do this heavy lifting. It sucks that you have to take on this personal responsibility that you can't trust them to do it right. Okay, but you can't. And so when you call 1 out of 4, you're going to have them say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you called. I didn't realize that this was in here. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'll get that corrected and send it to you. It's always an honest mistake.
There's whole industries that there is an industry of bill review, medical bill review, which shouldn't exist.
You shouldn't have to.
But it
does. But it's the same thing with claims of any kind. It's the same thing with dental. I mean, if you go to a dentist, assume they're overcharging you for your services. Assume they put a deep fluoride treatment on there that you didn't actually get. You know, if it's $76 and it's not covered by the insurance company, but they did it and they charged you for it. And they might not have even done it, but they charged you for it because they just put it on every bill. So medical is the same way. It's usually just more consequential than dental. But dental too, I'll tell anybody, medical, dental, ask for an itemized invoice and then look at it. And if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't pass the sniff test, assume it's wrong, make a phone call. Make a phone call. You probably save money. Okay, that's one. That's getting waste out of the system because if you pay it, you just wasted money. You pumped up the system a little one way or another, including sometimes to the insurance. The insurance is getting charged for something they shouldn't get charged. You might have to be the one who has to call it out.
Yeah, I got a buddy named Josh that any medical bill he gets, he's calling and negotiating. They take, nickels on the dollar for some of this stuff.
Yeah. You have to call though. And most people are, and look, I feel bad for people who are so afraid of any sense of conflict that they're not going to make that call. Maybe have a friend who loves conflict call for you. I don't know. But you do have to call. Don't pay the first bill. I mean, it's a real thing. That is a way that you might be getting hosed.
All right. Well, if anybody has any questions on medical insurance for their business, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. I mean, our website's cultureinsurance.com. My email is Nathan, Nathan @cultureinsurance. And anybody's welcome to reach out. Happy to have any conversations that might be helpful to somebody as it relates to, if they just want to talk about their own personal advocacy in a situation they're into, happy to take a phone call and do what I can. Obviously, my time is dedicated to working with employers who want to cultivate the best workplaces and want to have meaningful employee benefits programs that they know how to educate their employees. They know how to think strategically in their business about their benefits because this should all get leveraged into the overall health. And I don't just mean physical, but the financial health of your organization. If you're spending any money that you're spending in your business that's not yielding a return for you, you should stop spending. Fundamentally, you need to find out how to get a return on every dollar you're spending in your business, whether that's a magazine subscription in the foyer, okay, or your payroll. You need to be evaluating from soup to nuts over here, like what it's doing for you. And you should be partnered with a broker who's helping you leverage your benefits to being an investment in your people, not a necessary evil. So
thanks.
That was fun. You know what? You're not that bad in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was a good time. So.